Apocalypse. I can steal superpowers. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 126. Conjecture. In the deepening night, in the woods with scattered pine needles, the light was too dim to see the scene clearly. Luo leaned against the tree trunk, and the solid steel bar was inserted into the ground, like a standing spear. Kao Janian slowly put away his casual sitting posture. He frowned, his eyes quickly wandered around for a moment, and finally turned to the road with few cars. Luo, who are you ambushing here? This, guess again. Luo was not surprised. Kao Janian could guess his purpose. He brought him here today to show his attitude and cut off useless thoughts. Kao Janian blinked hard, as if his eyes were dry. He now understood Luo's motive. The steel bar he stole was the murder weapon. Because it was used to kill people, no evidence could be left. The best way was to steal it. But at the same time, can such a heavy steel bar really be used as a murder weapon? How can he attack others? Even if it was an ambush, they should find a way to make them stop. Mengwu? In Kao Janian's impression, Luo's biggest enemy is Mengwu. Anyway, he has offended him to death, so it doesn't matter if he kills him. Luo had guessed Kao Janian's answer a long time ago. He pretended to laugh twice and said the answer as if he had revealed the big prize. Remember the gangster who saw me in the braised meat shop a few mornings and then tipped me off? I got his phone number and talked to him a little bit. Luo, your target is Yan Yunliang's boss? Kao Janian felt a flash of lightning passing through his mind. He inexplicably drew inferences from one instant and thought of Luo's plan. Luo defeated Yan Yunliang's gang alone. Their fear of Luo seemed to have exceeded their respect for the boss. If Luo contacted the gangster who leaked his whereabouts because he was afraid of Luo's revenge, Luo asked him questions. How could he hide it? How dare he not say it? Especially, Luo asked some questions that were not confidential, such as the location of their boss. Even Kao Janian could have guessed that tonight, in order to maximize the results of the battle, the boss of Yan Yunliang would contact Mengwu, either by negotiation or intimidation. For such a big thing, the two bosses must meet to discuss it. There must be a lot of guards around them, and this news cannot be concealed. In the dim light of the mobile phone, Kao Janian looked at Luo's calm smile and knew that his guess just now was correct, but he was right on one point, and he was not less puzzled at all. Why not Mengwu? Because I don't want to dirty my hands. Luo wanted to kill Mengwu, which was really simple, but at least for now, Luo didn't want to get blood on his hands. It's not the so-called woman's kindness. After all, even if the timeline is expanded, it's not an exaggeration to say that Luo is a murderer. The real reason why Luo restrained himself was that his identity was still innocent, and there was no need to collapse his personality because of this matter. Anyway, Luo thought he had never killed anyone. Even Shu Shanking, who attacked Su Qinghan, had his soul wiped out by Luo. At least at that time, her body was not dead, and she could only live for a few days afterwards, because the medical level was not good enough. Kao Janian, if I attacked Mengwu and didn't kill him, then the revenge afterwards would make me never at peace. But if I changed someone, although Luo had a lot of contact with Kao Janian, he was still on guard against him. He could take Kao Janian to commit a crime, but if it involved life and death and serious crimes, how could Luo let him know? This was a big handle. Change someone. Kao Janian listened to Luo's explanation, and his mind gradually reflected. Luo's meaning was very clear. Although he was ambushing, he only injured but not killed. If his target was Mengwu, then Mengwu would probably associate him with him, and even if there was no evidence, Mengwu might retaliate against him crazily. However, if the target was changed to Yan Yunliang's boss, things would be interesting. Suppose Luo really succeeded in the ambush and successfully injured, but not killed him without letting the other party see him. Who would Yan Yunliang's boss pin the main mastermind of the attack on? It must be Mengwu. Need I say more? He had just had more than 40 of his younger brothers chopped off in the daytime, and more than a dozen of them were killed directly. He also took the opportunity to get involved in the demolition of the old street, intending to snatch food from the other party. Taking someone's money is like killing their parents. What kind of hatred is this? Now, they have agreed to meet somewhere. Meng Wu ambushed him halfway for revenge. Isn't this a natural and reasonable thing? Even Yan Yunayang's boss himself can think that this line is dangerous, so he must bring a lot of younger brothers to ensure his own safety. In this case, if Yan Yunayang's boss is really injured but not dead, then he will definitely take revenge on Meng Wu crazily, and it will be useless for Meng Wu to explain it, because he is the only one who has this motive and ability. If it succeeds, it is indeed possible. Qiao Jianyan thought so much, and he couldn't help but nodded. This plan is indeed possible. Although it can't be called an open conspiracy, it is very feasible. Wait. This plan. Qiao Jianyan seemed to have suddenly thought of something, and suddenly raised his head, staring at Gluo. This plan, which is linked to each other, and can almost be described as a plan of death, was planned by Gluo long ago and implemented today. Or is it that he just came up with the plan today and completed it step by step until now? Although the two may be very similar, the meanings shown in them are as different as heaven and earth. If it was planned long ago, Qiao Jianyan could still accept it. He could admire Gluo's layout and deduction, but it was ultimately a human category. But what if Gluo just thought of it today? This morning, he went to the braised meat shop for breakfast, which should be the first time. At least Qiao Jianyan often goes to the braised meat shop and has never seen Gluo once, but often sees that gangster. Moreover, Qiao Jianyan is sure that Gluo does not know him, and the two have never met. In this case, after Gluo discovered the abnormality of the gangster, he directly found himself and invited the bodyguard. Could this be a scene of layout? Afterwards, Gluo went to investigate the forced demolition again, and learned that the hardware store had offended the gangster. After visiting ZHU Ziyang, he discovered Meng Wu's plan for forced demolition. Could this be a scene of layout? Qiao Jianyan is not a fool. He can see that this is the first time ZHU Ziyang has met Gluo, and Gluo has just learned about the conflict in the hardware store. It is even more impossible for Gluo to know when Meng Wu will come to demolish the store. Afterwards, Gluo invited them to eat hot pot, lured Yan Yunayang and the others out, and made them tools to fight against Meng Wu. Qiao Jianyan remembered clearly that when Yan Yunayang called the boss, the conversation was stumbling. In the end, Yan Yunayang was able to complete the bet, and Qiao Jianyan found it incredible. Could this be a setup scene? Chapter 127. Watching. Qiao Jianyan felt that he had seen a lot of people, but he had never seen someone like Gluo. He didn't seem to do much, but in the huge web he wove, everyone would be trapped like moths. Qiao Jianyan, don't look at me like that. I did have a plan before, but it was luck that got me to this point. Although Gluo was comforting Qiao Jianyan, in fact, he was very satisfied with Qiao Jianyan's fear. For someone as ambitious and capable as Qiao Jianyan, showing one's strength and comprehensive crushing is undoubtedly a good way to ensure loyalty. Today, Qiao Jianyan saw everything he did from beginning to end. Without words, Qiao Jianyan himself understood that if he chose to betray one day, Gluo would kill him even to cover up today's actions. Of course, your great contribution in it cannot be erased. Qiao Jianyan looked at Gluo praising himself and nodded solemnly. At this point, he had no other choice. Gluo's expression was always relaxed. He typed a few words on his phone and sent them to the recipient on the other end. Soon, Gluo got a reply from the other end. The target is coming. Gluo stood up from the ground, took out 2 tissues, and wiped the heavy steel bar to ensure that his fingerprints would not be printed on it. Gluo, they came here by car. How can you intercept them? Qiao Jianyan had regained his usual calmness at this time. He walked to Gluo's side, looked at the heavy steel bar, and then looked at the road 7 or 8 meters away. He had no idea how Gluo would complete his plan. The other party passed by in a car at a speed of nearly 100 miles per hour. A road of 1 or 200 meters would only take a few seconds. Gluo had no time to intercept them. How could he attack the other side with a steel bar? Throw it as a javelin? Of course, you are right. GLUO stretched and even had time to move his body. Kyo-Janian stood beside him and felt that GLUO's idea was ridiculous. Is this really something a human can do? GLUO, there are several cars. Can you find them in such a short time? It's difficult, but that's the challenge. GLUO moved his neck and then did some stretching exercises. He didn't care about Kyo-Janian's doubts. GLUO could certainly understand Kyo-Janian's doubts and confusion. After all, it was so dark, and the car drove over from a distance and finally disappeared from sight in just a few seconds. Confirming the vehicle, finding the target, and launching an attack. This series of actions is difficult for ordinary people's brains to process in a few seconds. It can even be said that, because of the limitations of human pupils, they can't even find people. However, as an evolver, GLUO has already broken away from the concept of normal people. His body not only has 4 times the full capabilities of ordinary people, but more importantly, GLUO's reaction and control capabilities are no longer something that ordinary people can guess. So, GLUO can do all this, which is a bit difficult, but not hard. Kyo-Janian, why do you look like this? You won't have already determined that I will fail, right? At least have some confidence in me. Although GLUO was chatting with Kyo-Janian, at this time, his eyes had already begun to stare at the road. There is a traitor on the other side. The target vehicle is the third in the convoy. It is a bulletproof high-end car. He is the only one sitting in the back seat. I hope you can succeed. Kyo-Janian looked at GLUO's determined mood and sighed helplessly, as if he felt sorry for GLUO's failure. After all, GLUO's entire plan is perfect. It is not easy to get to this point. Of course GLUO stood in the lingering cold wind, inserting the heavy steel bars into his side. He stared at the street for a while, and the mobile phone in his pocket suddenly made a sound. GLUO took out his mobile phone and took a look and put it back in his pocket. It seems that the news is nothing serious. However, unlike before, GLUO has pulled the steel bars from the ground and cushioned his hands with a tissue to avoid accidental rollover. It's okay. It's definitely okay. He didn't feel it before, but now Kyo-Janian is so nervous that he has a little faster heartbeat. Kyo-Janian sensed the murderous aura on GLUO and could not help but step back a few steps, keeping a certain distance, not only for fear of accidental injury, but also for fear of disturbing GLUO's concentration. Yes, it was concentration. At this moment, GLUO stood there straight, as silent as a statue. Only his pair of bright eyes seemed to be shining and beautiful. Here. So soon. Kyo-Janian was shocked by the accuracy of GLUO's information. He and GLUO also stared at the far side of the road, but all they could see were a few dim lights. But soon, a convoy appeared at the end of his sight. Because the speed was very fast, Kyo-Janian only felt that the light of the headlights was getting bigger and bigger, and getting bigger and bigger. On the dark road, the convoy was like an arrow from a bow, completely turning into a shadow. In just a few blinks, it flew past Kyo-Janian. Whoosh. Because Kyo-Janian paid too much attention to the convoy, he didn't even see when GLUO threw the steel bar, but only heard a dull sound of breaking wind. The dark steel gun disappeared into the darkness the first second it left GLUO's hand, and even its trajectory could not be detected. Bang! As if the cause and effect were reversed, the steel bar thrown from GLUO's hand pierced the bulletproof glass of the luxury car in the most incredible way, and flew directly into the car. A man screamed, and the splashing blood dyed the roof of the car red, and the windows on both sides were stained with spots. Squeak. The harsh brake sound rang out, and the entire convoy suddenly fell into chaos. Even because of the sudden brake of the third car, the fourth car had to turn to avoid it, and it turned directly on the road, spinning and rubbing a row of sparks. The chaos of a headless fly spread to all the subsequent vehicles almost at the same time. The brake sounds rang one after another, and the crowd roared one after another, trying to stabilize the situation. Look, isn't this done? GLUO picked up the tissue on the ground and put it in his pocket, then rubbed it on the ground twice to wipe out his footprints. Kyo-Janian was now stunned. He seemed to have lost the ability to think. He imitated GLUO and rubbed his footprints on the ground twice to erase his footprints. In the woods with fallen pine needles, Kyo-Janian's mind was a mess. He glanced at GLUO, who looked relaxed, and then turned his head to look at the chaotic road, gritting his teeth all the time. Kyo-Janian, let's go. GLUO didn't care about the changes in the expressions of the bystanders. He tucked his collar, a smile appeared on his face, then turned around and walked away. Chapter 128, Doubts. In the dark night, the lights in the distance were as brilliant as the sea. Kyo-Janian followed the vague figure in front of him, walking forward with deep and shallow steps. GLUO walked leisurely on the soft needles, neither fast nor slow, as if he was not worried about someone chasing him. GLUO certainly knew about Kyo-Janian's shock and disbelief. It can even be said that the current situation was arranged by him. Just as GLUO told Kyo-Janian, taking him with him this time was to give him a reason to follow him and not betray. To be honest, GLUO felt that what he had just done was a bit outrageous. Outrageous beyond common sense. In the situation just now, let alone changing a person, even if he changed a weapon, let an elite sniper lie on a tree and make full preparations, he might not succeed. After all, in such a dark night, it is difficult to find the target accurately in a short time, and considering the wind direction, relative speed, etc., it is impossible for an elite sniper to succeed without being 1 in a million. However, GLUO threw a steel bar with his hand. The steel bar with a diameter of 25 meters and a length of more than 1.7 meters weighed dozens of kilograms. Not to mention aiming at someone and piercing him, even being able to throw it more than 10 meters away was already a bit of a stretch for a human. But GLUO threw the steel bar with one hand, so fast that the sound of the wind could be heard. After flying more than 10 meters, it directly penetrated the bulletproof glass and seriously injured the person in the back seat. Steel bar, sniper rifle, an ordinary person, an elite sniper, because the contrast between the two was too outrageous. Kyo-Janian even doubted whether GLUO was a human. Of course, strictly speaking, Kyo-Janian's guess was correct. GLUO was indeed not an ordinary person, but an evolved person among humans. Fighting 50 people during the day and long-range sniping with a steel bar at night, this kind of strength beyond the human sense, is the best reason that GLUO wants to expose to Kyo-Janian. After today, Kyo-Janian will have suspicion, fear, and doubt about GLUO, but these emotions will only make him more loyal or careful. When he faces GLUO, he will definitely consider and be more cautious, and the possibility of betrayal will be greatly reduced. One thing after another, one link after another, GLUO's actions on this day, in addition to attacking the gangsters of both parties, the biggest target is Kyo-Janian. He is a talent. It is necessary to take the trouble to subdue him. After all, considering Sukinghan's needs, GLUO feels that Kyo-Janian and others should be used. Kyo-Janian, you have my phone number, right? You can contact me at any time if you need it. GLUO and Kyo-Janian were silent all the way. He took him to the edge of a park and stopped. Of course, I will contact you when I have something. Okay. Kyo-Janian walked to GLUO's side with his head down, hesitated for a while, then raised his head and looked at GLUO with complicated eyes. What I know, only I know. I won't tell anyone. I believe you. GLUO smiled very happily, showing his standard 8 teeth. His attitude was sincere and messed up, as if he didn't need any proof. Just based on Kyo-Janian's character, he trusted him very much. Kyo-Janian and GLUO looked at each other for a moment, lowered their heads, and then nodded, as if they had thought of something, and rubbed their shoes on the steps of the park twice. GLUO, if you need it, I can prepare another number, and save only your phone number. No, I'm not planning to do anything shameful now. The words I contact you are also words that can withstand investigation. For major matters, we must meet in person to discuss. Okay, I'll go back first. Kyo-Janian sniffed, leaned slightly towards GLUO, turned around very casually, and walked into the park along the steps. GLUO stood there, watching Kyo-Janian disappear in front of him. He suddenly wanted to smoke, so he patted his pocket, and found that he didn't have any cigarettes. I don't know if it's right or wrong, GLUO is not a person who looks ahead and behind. Although the things he revealed to Kyo Junian, the more he thinks about them, the more terrifying they are, but they will not put him to death. The degree of threat to himself, after being exposed, this is a standard for GLUO's thinking, and the deadline he sticks to. Although Su King-hun's innate ability allows for death replay, GLUO has no control over the time of saving. Generally, replay within 1 day is definitely fine. However, if something requires long-term observation and burying, then death replay will become less powerful. It can only be said that the only thing that is always maintained is the ability to respond to crisis, and saving lives can make people feel at ease. So, in this case, why did GLUO reveal such a big threat to Kyo Junian? Because, now, GLUO has realized the limit of his own ability. Especially this time, when Su King-hun died, GLUO finally succeeded in rescuing her. GLUO himself was a little fortunate, and felt that his luck was bursting. Next, Su King-hun will participate in an auction to seize the holy relics. GLUO can't stand such a dangerous thing by himself, and he needs a helper. Zhu Yi will definitely help him, but Zhu Yi is too upright and inflexible, so he can only be a thug. And Kyo Junian, this person's personality, ability, and desire are undoubtedly very consistent with GLUO's conditions. In various situations, Kyo Junian can play his role, and he may do better than GLUO. Therefore, GLUO spent so much effort to pull him into the camp. Now it seems that things are going well. GLUO himself knows that his deterrence to Kyo Junian all comes from the intensity of threat. But there is no way. GLUO has no time to slowly grind with him. This kind of domineering quick success is also very good. Let's go home. GLUO took out his mobile phone, looked at the time, patted his dusty butt, turned around and walked towards the nearest street. GLUO has 2 mobile phones in total. The phone card of one mobile phone was applied for with his own ID card, which is now on Su King-hun's table. And the one in GLUO's hand is the black card he bought. It is anonymous and there is no need to worry about search. If necessary, just take it out and throw it away. Since contacting Su King-hun, GLUO has been quietly making these preparations in all aspects. GLUO has been accustomed to carrying large amounts of cash on him, and the card for depositing money is not GLUO's ID card. Everything was being prepared silently and methodically. Su King-hun, are you worth all this? GLUO was no longer worried about Su King-hun's enemies. He would kill anyone who wanted to kill Su King-hun, and anyone who wanted to hurt her would have to go through him. However, GLUO still had doubts in his heart about what happened in Su King-hun's past. Is she good or bad? If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 129, Going Home. 2053. On January 21st, 3006, GLUO was in a hurry along the way. When he returned to the community, the falling snow had already dyed his hair white. GLUO's original plan was to go home to change clothes and get himself ready before going to see Su King-hun, but GLUO didn't expect that Su King-hun would open the door as soon as he stepped onto the stairs. "You're back." The expression on Su King-hun's face looked calm as before, but after so long, GLUO could already see the girl's hidden tenderness. "Yes, you're back." GLUO knew what Su King-hun meant, so he didn't go home, but walked directly into her room. The girl took out a towel and cleaned the snow off GLUO's shoulders, then gave him the towel and asked him to wipe his hair himself. "I'll get you some slippers." Su King-hun always hides her inner fluctuations. This has become her habit after countless bloody experiences. But at this time, the girl bent down to take out slippers from the shoe cabinet and place them neatly in front of GLUO. That kind of gentleness and quiet beauty, as natural as a couple who have been together for a long time. "Thank you." It was not the first time that GLUO came to Su King-hun's house, but there was still some unnaturalness that could not be erased. There was no way. GLUO always felt that Su King-hun might have some secrets scattered everywhere. If he found them rashly, it would be very troublesome for the two of them to get along. Don't be restrained. Do it. Sukinghan deliberately pulled out the chair at the dining table for Gluo and motioned him to sit down. Then the girl walked into the kitchen, served the bone soup that was simmered over a slow fire, and brought it to Gluo. Gluo sat on the chair, took the hot soup bowl from Sukinghan's hand, and then took off the insulation cover of the food and piled it on the other side. How long have you been busy? Such a large table of food. Not long. 2 hours? Sukinghan put his bone soup on the edge of the table, thought about Gluo's question, then picked up the chopsticks next to him and handed a pair to Gluo. Gluo, you left your phone on the table last night. Yes, I didn't find it until I got to class. Gluo reached out and picked up the phone on the table, flipped through it, and looked at the message sent by Tang Ruoxi and couldn't help laughing. Tang Ruoxi, you have a deep prejudice against me. Are you sure it's prejudice? It's resentment. Sukinghan looked at Gluo's little face after the successful prank and couldn't help rolling his eyes, but the girl's facial features were so beautiful that this eye roll was particularly cute. Sukinghan, you are wronging me. I was thinking of introducing her to a job, and the salary at that time was very good. Gluo showed an expression of having a plan, and he winked at Sukinghan for a while. Sukinghan couldn't help laughing anymore. Gluo, your behavior is just like that of a black broker. If Tang Ruoxi can beat you, she will definitely make you regret provoking her. That's for sure. If I can't beat her, I would have stayed away from her long ago. I would never dare to provoke her, even if I was beaten to death. Gluo picked up the bowl and drank a mouthful of soup while speaking. He felt a warm flow into his throat, and the cold air on the way was dispelled. Sukinghan, I always bully the weak and fear the strong. Gluo, this is the first time I realize that you are so hateful. Sukinghan was amused by Gluo's antics. She picked up the knife on the side, cut the stewed braised pork elbow into 2 pieces, and picked up a large piece for Gluo. Thank you. Gluo liked Sukinghan's cooking very much, or rather, he was lazy and liked everything that didn't require him to do anything, but was delicious. You're welcome. Sukinghan sat back in her chair. Her attitude towards Gluo tonight was slightly different from before. It was a bit too much to say that she was more gentle, but it was probably closer. The way they get along has changed slightly. For the first time, Sukinghan took the initiative to bring them closer and take care of Gluo's feelings. Gluo, I saw a big bullfrog today. I wanted to buy it, but I was afraid you wouldn't like it, so I didn't buy it. Bullfrog? I haven't eaten it before. Next time, buy some and I'll try it. Gluo seemed not to notice the difference in Sukinghan and still had his usual attitude. Sukinghan took a few bites of the food and put down his chopsticks, as if he had no appetite. There was a hesitant expression on his face, as if he was thinking about what to say. Okay, next time I'll buy some bullfrogs and we'll have hot pot. Yeah, the hot pot is good, but you have to add less chili. I can't stand it. Gluo chatted with Sukinghan very naturally, and their relationship was so natural that it seemed that there was no need for any restraint in their words. By the way, Sukinghan, speaking of hot pot, we can go to the hot pot restaurant we went to last time. We have almost dealt with the gangsters. Those gangsters? How did you deal with them? Sukinghan frowned slightly and looked at Gluo with some worry. The girl would naturally not forget what happened before. Gluo beat a gangster leader half to death. How could he be dealt with so easily? Just beat him up, and it will be fine. The chopsticks in Gluo's hand moved very quickly, and it looked like he was grabbing food from Sukinghan. However, at this time, Sukinghan didn't even hold the chopsticks tightly, and had no intention of eating at all, but was just thinking about some possibilities. Next time you want to go, let's go together. Of course, I'll treat you next time. Gluo winked at Sukinghan, and that kind of mean expression made Sukinghan couldn't help but smile. It was not until this time that Sukinghan realized that Gluo had been making a fuss to make him happy. He may have seen that she had something difficult to say, but she was just embarrassed to ask, waiting for him to tell everything. Gluo, why do you sometimes feel like a piece of wood, and sometimes you feel very smart? I can't help it. Sukinghan, IQ is like stocks, the ups and downs are up to God. I'm just being a simple person. Gluo picked up the bowl and drank the remaining bone soup, then stretched out his hand to Sukinghan. The girl squinted at him, took the steamed bun next to her very naturally, and handed it to Gluo. Gluo, you didn't pretend to be stupid in front of me before. Why do I feel like I was deceived? I'm not. I didn't. Don't talk nonsense. Gluo decisively denied 3 times, then took 2 bites of the steamed bun, picked up a piece of fat and lean elbow meat, and ate it with a mouthful of meat fragrance. It's obviously you who was too obvious, Sukinghan. If you have something to say, just say it directly. There's no need to beat around the bush. What's our relationship? We're just old revolutionary friends. Who said we were evolutionary friends? It's just that I needed help, and you happened to be there. Sukinghan was talking, and suddenly she felt a little depressed. The chopsticks in her hand knocked against the edge of the plate twice, and she didn't add any more food, but put it on the table instead. Sukinghan, you need help, and I happen to be here. That's enough. Enough. Chapter 130, Touched. Gluo, you are such an idiot. Sukinghan supported his forehead with his hand, and couldn't help closing his eyes. He seemed to be struggling with the resolution he should have made. It's okay to be an idiot. Stupid people have good fortune. Gluo didn't force Sukinghan too much. During the time when the girl was silent, he ate the steamed buns and vegetables in big mouthfuls. After a while, he finished the steamed buns. Sukinghan heard the sound of Gluo's chopsticks stopping. She put down her hand, looked up at Gluo, took another steamed bun, and handed it to him. Sukinghan, I've had enough. I don't want to eat anymore. Eat yours. Sukinghan's tone was a bit forced, and Gluo's face looked like he was really full, but he took the steamed bun directly in his hand, and began to stuff it into his mouth without any hesitation. Well, delicious. Sukinghan, the shrimp you fried is very fragrant, and you added cashews and peanuts. The steamed buns can't stop your mouth, so you keep talking nonsense. Sukinghan herself could feel that her mood was a little wrong, but no matter how she forced herself and made any mental preparations, when she faced Gluo, her attitude was still different from usual. The girl couldn't help but take a deep breath, trying to gather her messy thoughts and change the subject. Gluo, why did you come back so late today? You usually get home at 6 o'clock. I'm busy with work today. You were blocked by gangsters? And had a fight? Sukinghan didn't believe Gluo's sophistry at all. She looked Gluo up and down, and confirmed that he was not injured, and then she stopped staring at him. No way. Everything is as planned. Gluo thought about what he did today, and felt a little guilty. Sukinghan didn't look at Gluo, but picked up the chopsticks, and picked up the dishes for Gluo. Sukinghan knew what Gluo liked to eat, and she picked up the food very quickly. In just a moment, she had picked up a small mountain on the plate in front of Gluo. Sukinghan, stop picking up the food. Stop picking up the food. I surrender. Surrender. Gluo was not afraid that Sukinghan would look at him coldly. At that time, the girl might be angry, but she would not be angry. The most terrifying moment for the girl was the silence when she looked away. She must be very unhappy in her heart. If Gluo did not care, he would definitely suffer. What are you surrendering? Although Sukinghan's tone was still unfriendly, she was no longer angry. The girl raised her head and stared at him meaningfully for a long time, until Gluo moved his eyes to the plate, and then stopped. Gluo, I know you have your own plans in your heart, but you have to remember that times have changed. Yes, indeed, times have changed. Gluo nodded seriously, making an expression that he agreed with Sukinghan. He knew very well that Sukinghan's words had 2 meanings, but Sukinghan thought he didn't know, and still criticized him seriously. Gluo, the martial arts of ordinary people have their limits after all. You can't withstand guns and cannons. Some people must have guns, but they are concerned about social rules, so they let you show off all the time. I understand. Gluo could tell that Sukinghan was worried about him. In her opinion, he was just an ordinary person who knew some kung fu, but facing guns or revolvers, it was a dead end, and he couldn't be careless. I hope you understand. Sukinghan rubbed her forehead in annoyance. She wanted to tell Gluo everything, but she couldn't tell these things to others. Times really have changed. Okay Sukinghan, tell me your problem. I just received a useful little brother today, and my ability to help has increased a lot. GLUO had few steamed buns left in his hand, so he simply ate them all in one bite, and then ate a few more bites of vegetables. Slow down. Sukinghan looked at GLUO, who was eating voraciously, a little afraid that he would choke, and couldn't help but glared at him in complaint. It's okay. GLUO was about to say that he was fine, but suddenly he covered his neck, his eyes widened, and he obviously looked choked. Sukinghan hurriedly pushed the chair away, ran to GLUO's side, and punched his back hard, asking him to spit it out quickly. Don't force it. It will be fine after you spit it out. GLUO puffed his mouth and raised his hand hurriedly, signaling Sukinghan to stop punching. He was just pretending to scare Sukinghan, but he didn't expect to get himself into trouble. Sukinghan was so painful from the punch. If there was no food in his mouth, he would have screamed. What's wrong? Did I hit too hard? Sukinghan also found that GLUO was in a bad condition at this time. She stopped punching. GLUO moved his body, swallowed the food in his mouth, and breathed a long sigh of relief. Good fellow, you almost beat me to death. Are you pretending? Sukinghan understood the situation instantly. She stared with pearly eyes and pinched the tender flesh on GLUO's waist fiercely. Ah, it hurts, it hurts. GLUO screamed because of Sukinghan's pinch, but in fact, it was all pretending. Sukinghan did not use real strength, but just pinched superficially. Ceasefire. Ceasefire. I'm willing to sign an armistice as compensation for the defeat. I'm willing to do you a favor. You, this idiot. Sukinghan looked at GLUO's scared expression and couldn't help laughing. She turned around and walked back to her seat. Her eyes swayed in the room, and her eyes suddenly became moist. At this moment, the girl felt the warmth of sincerity. In order to make her feel relaxed, GLUO had been making jokes and told her in an inexplicable way that no matter what happened, as long as she needed it, he would go all out. What's the matter? Don't be so moved that you cry. GLUO knew that Sukinghan had a hard time, so at this time, he didn't want Sukinghan to feel any pressure. He was not a good person, and his mind was not pure. He was already a LSP, so why pretend to be a great sage? Sukinghan, tell me, what can I do for you? GLUO, I need your help. Sukinghan finally held back her tears. The girl pursed her lips and pretended to be very ruthless, but in fact she was suppressing herself. Fight for you, my lady. GLUO put his palm on his heart and imitated a gentleman's salute in a very poor way. Sukinghan nodded and still smiled. GLUO, I need you to attend an auction in half a month to confirm the authenticity of something. Auction? Sure. I haven't participated in one yet. I'll learn a lot this time. It's very dangerous. Very dangerous. Sukinghan seemed to be afraid that GLUO didn't understand the danger of the situation. She looked very serious and looked straight at GLUO until GLUO put away his smile, showed a serious expression, and nodded again, confirming his determination to walk into the danger. GLUO, you are likely to die. No one will not die. Chapter 131, Holy Relic. Under the warm light, GLUO and Sukinghan sat at the two ends of the dining table. The conversation that should have been smooth suddenly stopped. GLUO looked up at Sukinghan. The girl's eyes were faintly tearful, and she looked at him with resentment. I don't like what you said. Sukinghan clenched her palms. GLUO had obviously promised to help her, but such an impulsive answer still made the girl very angry. She had seen too many deaths, too much nostalgia and unwillingness. Everyone should cherish their own lives. No matter who it was for, they could not let go of life and death so calmly. I know. GLUO lowered his head as if admitting defeat. He was actually awkward in his heart. Sukinghan needed help, so he decisively helped her. Why now? She blamed him for being too decisive. However, GLUO was very contradictory. He felt happy and comforted. Sukinghan's attitude towards others always made people feel that she cherished herself. Sukinghan, I admit that what I said was wrong, but I hope you understand that I want to help you and am willing to help you. I understand. Sukinghan did not ask why at an inappropriate time. The girl took a deep breath and smiled as if she had changed her mood. GLUO, wait a moment. Sukinghan left the dining table and walked into the room. Gluo had almost finished eating, but he couldn't help but eat a few more bites. Not many people could eat the food made by Sukinghan himself. Gluo, take a look at this information. When Sukinghan walked out of the bedroom, she was holding a small stack of documents in her hand. She handed most of the papers to Gluo and kept only the last one. Gluo took the detailed information and looked through it carefully. The first page was an introduction to a certain antique. Gluo finished reading most of the text before he understood its use. A cup made of pure gold? People who drink from it don't have to worry about being poisoned. I'm afraid they really don't have to worry about that. Sukinghan moved the stool and got closer to Gluo. Then she took the thermos cup next to her and compared it to Gluo. This golden cup is actually quite tall, nearly 30 centimeters. It is inlaid with 13 gems in total. The most famous one is a ruby in the middle, which is called the blood red tears. Oh my god. Is this ruby so big? Gluo couldn't tell from the picture, but when Sukinghan compared it with her fingers, he estimated that the most conspicuous ruby was actually bigger than a walnut. How much does it cost? Not expensive, not expensive. Only 30 million. Sukinghan liked Gluo's surprised expression. The girl pursed her cherry lips slightly, and the smile at the corner of her mouth was very subtle. Gluo didn't care about Sukinghan's teasing. He was really shocked. Since Sukinghan showed him the picture of the golden cup, it proved that the girl was planning to steal it. Alas. Stealing a precious cultural relic worth 30 million, this steal is worth it. It's better to say that Gluo is honored to be able to participate in such a big case. Ahem. Sukinghan, you just confirm whether it's real or fake. Gluo looked at Sukinghan with watery eyes. The girl was amused by his expression and raised her pink fist to hit his shoulder. Gluo, do you still want to rob it? This cup must be the finale. The starting price is 30 million, and the final transaction price is at least 3 times this number. How many people are eyeing it? 100 million. Gluo lowered his head and looked at the color photos on the paper. Most of the emotions in his heart were not shock, but sighs. If this was not a holy relic needed by the evolvers, it would be a fool to buy it for 10 million. Sukinghan, what is the origin of this cup? I think it looks a bit like the Holy Grail in Fate. Does it look like it? It seems a bit like it, but it should be much bigger, and it is inlaid with so many gems. Sukinghan took the picture of the golden cup and looked at it carefully and found that it really looked like that. Gluo had finished reading the first page, so he looked through the information at the back. Compared with the simple introduction on the first page, the information at the back also had some analytical element, which was a bit boring to be honest. Legend has it that this golden cup is called Cain's blood drinking evil cup. Gluo almost finished reading the entire information and only saw this small guess at the very end. He looked up and Sukinghan's face had lost its smile, but just pursed his lips and his long eyelashes trembled slightly. Sukinghan, Cain's blood drinking evil cup, what is this? It's just a name made up according to legend. Sukinghan was not very willing to explain this, but facing Gluo's questioning eyes, the girl still explained it. The Bible records that the first 2 sons born to Adam, the ancestor of mankind, and his wife Eve, were Cain and Adam. Cain was the elder brother and Adam was the younger brother. Cain killed Abel because he hated him. When God asked Cain where his brother was, he hoped that he could recognize his sin, but Cain did not feel any remorse and tried to deceive God and was eventually exiled. In order for him to suffer in exile forever, God made a special mark for him to prevent people from killing him. Sukinghan did not speak fast, as if he was considering something, but Gluo had also heard these stories, and he was just getting the arguments from Sukinghan again. Later, Cain was cursed by God and gained eternal life, walking in darkness and desolation. But because of this, he also became the first generation of vampires and could not be exposed to sunlight, which means that God did not forgive him. The instinct to suck blood is the characteristic of the curse. Vampire. Gluo is very familiar with this name. Eternal life, agelessness, elegance, and ghostliness. It seems that many people like this tune and even think that they can become one of them. Yes, it's a vampire. Legend has it that Cain is the ancestor of vampires. Those who receive his first embrace are the first generation of vampires, that is, the true ancestor. Sukinghan paused. When she said this, she seemed to realize that she had said unnecessary information, so she forced the topic back regardless of Gluo's curious eyes. So, this golden cup called Cain's blood drinking evil cup has such a great value because of this legend. Sukinghan, is this cup really Cain's? Isn't it a divine artifact? Gluo knew that Sukinghan wanted to snatch the holy relic, and what she needed was for him to confirm the authenticity of the holy relic. It would be fine if it was fake, but if the golden cup was real, wouldn't it be an invincible good thing? Gluo, do you think, if it is really such a legendary thing, would anyone sell it? How could it be worth only this much? Chapter 132. First. That's true. Gluo actually didn't quite believe that this cup made of gold could be such an ancient artifact. The name Cain is too well known. Putting his name on something is a bit too illusory. It always feels like it is meant to inflate its value. Then Sukinghan, what do you want me to confirm? I want you to confirm whether it is a holy relic. Sukinghan almost said the word holy relic because she followed Gluo's words, but she reacted immediately and stopped talking. During the prosperous times, it was an item used by a very powerful person. Gluo nodded, as if he suddenly realized something, as if he believed Sukinghan's lame excuse very much. The girl tapped her fingers on the table twice, as if reminding Gluo something. Gluo, as long as you help me confirm the authenticity of such things, I will give you 100,000 yuan. With our relationship, there is no need to mention money. 200,000. Sukinghan, I really don't mean 300,000. This is boring. 400,000. Okay, I promise you. Gluo was frightened by Sukinghan's stare. He was really afraid of her. He simply treated money as if it were not money. The salary increase was 100,000 yuan. However, Sukinghan did have the qualifications. She had the ability of death return. With this, the previous was really just a number. Gluo even suspected that if Sukinghan could enter the auction house without being intimidated by her identity, she could have bought the things with money. Money? Just a number. Sukinghan, give me this amount of money. Don't say anything. Just give the order. I'll ask you one last time. Do you regret it? Sukinghan looked at Gluo's determined expression and still sighed in his heart. Gluo felt very happy when he heard so much money. However, he didn't understand what he would face if he participated in this matter. If a person dies, what's the point of money? I will never regret it. Gluo patted his chest and didn't want to say anything. What else can I say? Sukinghan is very nice. Sure enough, women will affect my fencing speed, but rich women won't. She will only buy me a better sword. Okay, then it's settled. Sukinghan took out her mobile phone and decided to settle the deal. Money is just a number to her. And what limits this number is not the bank and society, but the huge monster of Zinke bio-pharmaceuticals. It is always looking for her and constraining her everywhere. Hey? Sukinghan, what are you doing? Gluo looked at Sukinghan taking out his mobile phone and didn't even react for a while. What Sukinghan wanted to do, until the reminder sound of the mobile phone receiving the payment sounded. 500,000? Gluo looked up at Sukinghan and felt that he was looking at a mountain of gold. Oh my god, is there anyone who asks someone to do something like this? It was agreed to be 400,000, but he raised his hand and gave 500,000. Is this to make it round? It's so generous. I love it. Make it round. Just consider it as a little extra tip for you. Sukinghan rubbed his temples, and he had already started thinking about Gluo's future arrangements. If the plan succeeded, and Gluo's identity was exposed, then she would not only give him a large sum of money, but also try to settle him. Sukinghan, my heart is yours. Gluo looked at Sukinghan with a sharp gaze, and it was so sincere. Sukinghan raised his hand and patted his forehead, as if to teach him a lesson for his wild imagination. Don't be happy too early. If your mission fails, you have to return the money to me. No problem. Gluo knew very well that Sukinghan was joking. After this time of the holy relic, no matter success or failure, she would not take back the money. Not only that, she would probably give GLUO a large sum of money again. However, after this, she would completely leave his life and disappear from his life, never to be seen again. Thinking of this, GLUO felt a little heavy, and the joy of receiving a large sum of money just now disappeared. Who wouldn't love such a beautiful, kind, and rich girl? Not only did she satisfy GLUO's XP system, but she also gathered the 3 element of a perfect wife at the same time. One is better than 3. Just ask, who can be willing to give it up? Okay, GLUO, you have received the money. It's time to do things for me. Sukinghan felt GLUO's depression. Although she felt a little uncomfortable, she still suppressed the bitterness and began to talk about the specific plan. The auctioneer of the auction of the gold cup is called Dingsheng Auction. His boss is called Dangozu, who is very capable. Wait a minute. Dingsheng Auction, Dangozu. GLUO rubbed his head. He felt that the name was familiar. He certainly couldn't remember ordinary names, but the surname Dango was really unforgettable. The story of Mr. Dango is already a traditional fable. This surname is very rare. GLUO has seen, or even heard of only one of his junior high school classmates. Sukinghan, do you have information about Danguaksu? What's his son's name? His son? His name is Dangoi. That's right. It's him. GLUO slapped his thigh. He was sure without looking at the photo that this was definitely the home of his junior high school classmate. There was no way. The name was too special. Mr. Dango, stupid, old-fashioned, and traditional, sneaky, shrewd, insidious and cruel. The name Dangoi is simply a combination of poison and antidote. When we were in junior high school, no one didn't laugh. GLUO, do you know him? Sukinghan didn't expect that this world was so small. If GLUO knew the owner of this auction house, then there would be a lot to talk about. Of course I know him. He is my junior high school classmate. He is always showing off. His family was rich when we were in junior high school, and his academic ranking was second only to me. What place were you in junior high school? I was first, and he was second. That's great. Sukinghan couldn't help showing a happy expression. GLUO's junior high school classmate was also the first and second in the class, so they must have a good relationship. The last one. GLUO smacked his lips twice, rubbed his knees, and felt a little embarrassed. The last one and the second to last? This should be considered familiar. Sukinghan didn't know what to say for a while. She had always been one of the best students in her studies since she was a child. She also took junior high school courses. She didn't know such a simple thing. How did the last one and the second to last people get their scores? It's okay. We are very familiar with each other. GLUO took a breath of cold air, as if he had a toothache. It seemed that something made him a little embarrassed. Sukinghan, I have a plan. Please give me your feedback. Okay. Sukinghan looked at GLUO's expression of going through fire and water, and was really curious about what he was going to do. Actually, every year recently, our junior high school classmates have a reunion, and he always invites me. Chapter 133, Spring Festival is coming. 11:42 on January 25th, 3006 in the gymnasium. The sound of spears rang out, and the warm and cool sunlight came in through the window. The slender young man walked in a staggered manner, holding a heavy metal spear in his hand, and the shadow of the spear was like a fan when he waved his hand. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The sharp sound of breaking the wind continued, like a shrill cry, but the nearly 100 stabs always stayed at one point, as precise and murderous as a machine. Since ancient times, the spear has been the king of all weapons, and there are countless fierce generals who use spears. However, whether it is a big spear, or a horse lance, they are all made of metal as the blade, and the spear shaft is mostly made of wood and rattan. However, the spear in GLUO's hand is completely made of metal. This kind of weapon, that can be called a heavy weapon, has only a few uses throughout history. But at this moment, the 40-50 Jin spear in GLUO's hand is as light as a wooden stick, and it is as natural as a folding fan when it is waved. After becoming a bronze level I evolver, GLUO's physical ability, which had stagnated for 7 years, finally began to grow again. To date, it has been exactly 1 month, and GLUO has not deliberately practiced hard, but his physical attributes have increased by nearly a quarter. 5 times the physical ability of ordinary people. If GLUO really uses all his strength, he can even break a person's skull with one punch. What's more terrifying is that GLUO's strong perception and reaction speed have allowed him to break through a certain node, the ability to resist firearms. Within 10 meters, if someone wants to shoot at GLUO, GLUO can even judge the situation of the bullet being fired through the movement of his muscles, so as to dodge and advance and counterattack immediately. As for long-range sniping, as long as GLUO finds it, he can evade it in advance and save his life. It can be said that GLUO has now become a bomb threatening social security. As long as he wants, in this city with intertwined buildings, 100 policemen can't stop him. It's a pity. I still can't compare with Sukinghan. GLUO stepped forward with both feet and stabbed a straightforward spear, but the final result did not satisfy GLUO. Still, far inferior to Sukinghan. When GLUO recalled it now, the stronger he was, the more he understood how amazing and sharp the knife that Sukinghan stabbed him to death when they first met was. It can be said that even GLUO now, holding a spear, would definitely not be able to block Sukinghan's attack. Bronze level, above. GLUO slowly retracted the spear, exhaled a few long breaths to calm his breath, then he took the towel next to him, wiped the iron spear from head to tail, and then put it on the shelf. Now GLUO, ordinary training is no longer useful, but he was restless just now, so he practiced with the iron spear for more than 2 hours, and now he is sweating all over. Take a shower. GLUO's personal practice room has its own bathroom and a small restroom, but GLUO doesn't use it often. Although he didn't bring any clothes, GLUO still took a shower twice from beginning to end. It's the flying of a white horse in a snap of a finger. It's the dying of morning mushroom when the world freezes. Can you blame the west wind who's calling me at this time? GLUO didn't bother to dry his hair and walked out of the bathroom wrapped in a bath towel. But when GLUO saw the caller ID, a smile immediately appeared on his face. Hey, GLUO, what are you doing? You're too slow. I'm taking a shower. I was working hard just now, and I'm sweating all over. Hehe, working hard? Who are you with? Be careful, don't hurt your waist. On the other end of the phone, the young man's voice began to become obscene. GLUO rolled his eyes and sat directly on the tatami. Mr. Yi, why did you suddenly call me today? Have you told me about your things? Hahaha, of course, you haven't attended any class reunion in so many years. When we heard that you could come this time, our class monitor immediately moved the dates to the new year. Thank you, I have been wandering around for so many years. Now I'm finally back. I want to meet you all. For work reasons, I have to come a little earlier. GLUO pulled his hair with his fingers and wiped the water droplets on the bath towel. His voice sounded very happy. However, Dangoi on the opposite side, although he spoke very intimately, his emotions were not very enthusiastic. It's a small matter. It's settled, don't stand us up. My secretary called me. I guess he has something to ask me. I'll hang up first. Okay, Mr. Yi, you go ahead with your own things. GLUO naturally didn't care about the pretentious plot made up by the other party. He was still very enthusiastic. Dangoi repeated the time again and hung up the phone. Tomorrow. GLUO opened the calendar on his phone and typed the words classmates reunion on the 26th. 3 days ago, GLUO and Sukinghan chatted and hastily set a general plan, and then they were busy setting up the stall. But fortunately, although they haven't seen each other for 10 years, GLUO's junior high school classmates are still very enthusiastic about him. After some effort, they finally got the most important node of the plan. Oh, too hasty. GLUO actually felt that things were too hasty, but there was nothing he could do. This year's spring festival was early New Year's Eve on the 28th, and the 29th was the first day of the Lunar New Year. Dingsheng Auction seemed to want to make a big scene before the new year, so the date was set on the afternoon of the 26th, forcing GLUO to find a reason to explain. But it was finally done. Junior high school classmates. GLUO doesn't remember much about junior high school now, but he can be sure that he was sick back then, and he would definitely make all his classmates remember it for the rest of their lives. There is no way. Who told him to awaken his original talent in the second year of junior high school? At that time, he had already dreamed of being a Superman. Who would stay with a bunch of brats? With such a dark history, how could GLUO have the nerve to attend the class reunion? So over the years, he found all kinds of reasons to delay it if possible, and work overtime if he couldn't delay it. Anyway, it's quite strange. In the past 10 years, he has not attended the class reunion once, but Dangoi still notifies him every year. Is he really in love with me, or does he want to pretend to be awesome and slap me in the face 10 years a day? GLUO has now forgotten what Dangoi looks like in his mind. He only remembers that they used to be the last and second to last, and their relationship was actually quite bad. He seemed to have beaten him, the kind that cried loudly. Dark history, dark history. The more GLUO thought about it, the more ashamed he felt, and even felt a tingling sensation on his scalp. Tomorrow's class reunion will definitely be a dangerous place, and he will not be able to survive without it. GLUO. What are you doing hiding in the house? Huh? Wait a minute. Why wait? What shameful things are you doing? Chapter 134, Defeated. Just when GLUO was sitting on the tatami with a bath towel wrapped around him, and recalling the past, Tang Ruoxi suddenly pushed the door open. Even though GLUO asked her to wait, she still couldn't stop the girl. GLUO. You pervert. What are you doing? Tang Ruoxi, a cute girl who can fight and eat, didn't scream or cover her eyes when she found GLUO sitting on the ground, soaking wet. Instead, she rushed forward 2 steps and stared at him righteously. She looked as if she was justice and light, judging perverts and villains like GLUO. Hang the door. Keep your voice down. Who's the pervert? You're the pervert, right? GLUO, as a 24-year-old uncle, was not someone a girl like Tang Ruoxi could intimidate. GLUO turned his head and looked at Tang Ruoxi without giving in, fully expressing his legitimacy. I'm sweating from practicing martial arts. Can't I take a shower? This is my private room. You didn't knock. You pushed the door in without waiting for my response. You blame me. Humph. It's obviously you who didn't lock the door. Faced with GLUO's tough attitude, Tang Ruoxi couldn't question it anymore. The girl snorted twice and wanted to go out, but she felt that leaving was like being afraid of GLUO, and it was a loss. Yes, it's my fault for not locking the door. I'm afraid of you. You go out first. Wait for me to put on my clothes. GLUO is not really a pervert. He doesn't have any clothes now. Naturally he doesn't want to continue to entangle. But what GLUO didn't expect was that he took the initiative to step back. But Tang Ruoxi didn't mean to retreat, but seemed to be angry, and her attitude became even more aggressive. Now you know you're a coward. When you blocked me at the school gate before, weren't you very powerful? I'll learn from you, and I won't go out. Watch you put on your clothes. This was the first time Tang Ruoxi saw GLUO give in front of her. The girl's anger and grievances in her heart have been suppressed for a month, and now she is getting angrier and angrier. GLUO, aren't you awesome? I wonder if you can do whatever you want. Now you've brought me here to be your instructor, and my good summer vacation is all gone. GLUO knew that he would have a disaster, but he didn't expect that Tang Ruoxi would force him to step down at this time. He was naked. Not only did he feel insecure, but also a little cold. Ahem Ruoxi, I know that I didn't do well in some aspects, and you've been wronged. I'll apologize to you first. I believe you also understand that the reason I had to let you come here is because your awesome 36 Thunder Hands is very powerful, but it's you who really makes it unparalleled in the world. Then you pestered me at the school gate and spread rumors. Do you know how people in school spread rumors about me? Do you know what those little bitches say about me every day? Tang Ruoxi was most proud of the 36 Thunder Hands passed down from her family, and secondly, her outstanding talent in martial arts. Now that the girl was praised by GLUO, she actually felt sweet in her heart. But on the other hand, Tang Ruoxi was usually angry with her classmates, but she couldn't hit them. She was full of anger, and now she found GLUO as a breakthrough point, and she poured all her anger on GLUO, crying as she spoke. It's all your fault. I'm being gossiped by those bitches now, and they've been making up stories about you being my boyfriend since elementary school. Don't cry, don't cry. I'm sorry, I admit I was wrong. I didn't think enough. I'm sorry. GLUO was not a very face-saving person. When he found his mistakes, he immediately admitted them and apologized decisively. GLUO was actually not afraid of anything, but he couldn't bear to see girls crying in grievance, especially when the reason was still on him, and he was wrong. But to be honest, GLUO always felt a little wronged when listening to Tangruax's crying. Tangruax's character, good guy, is that she would never talk when she could take action. Her arrogance comes from the bottom of her heart. Her relationship with male classmates is okay, and the opposite sex, licking dogs and LSPs, are still rushing to her side. But it was different for the girls. They looked at Tangruaxi as a thorn in their eyes and a thorn in their flesh. It would be strange if they didn't gossip about her. With her beautiful and lovely appearance, serious and solemn personality, and outstanding martial arts, Tangruaxi had no circle suitable for her in school. She probably had to count her friends on her fingers. She might even be isolated. Woo woo woo. Is it useful to apologize now? There's no use. Tangruaxi was a proud girl. She never cried in front of others, but facing GLUO who crushed her with force, the girl had completely put herself in a weak position. She lost her usual pride and looked pitiful. Because she was an instructor at the Shaodao gym, Tangruaxi was wearing a white Taoist uniform at this time. She was a little short at 1.6 meters tall, and even the small Taoist uniform looked a little long. The girl still had two ponytails, with hollow snowflake ribbons and satin-like black hair, which was very cute when it fell down. With her childish face and tearful expression, people couldn't help but want to comfort her. It's useful after I apologize. You can get compensation. GLUO actually felt sorry for the little girl. Tangruaxi was probably a martial arts fanatic, since she was a child. Years of practicing martial arts made her consume too much calories. Look at her flat chest, which is only 2 more poached eggs than the airport. Lack of nutrition, too lacking in nutrition, nothing to say, it must be arranged later. Tangruaxi, isn't it 11 o'clock now? It's time for lunch. Just tell me what you want to eat, and I'll treat you. Really? Anything is fine. As a 16-year-old beautiful girl who can eat and sleep, Tangruaxi had 2 hours of classes in the morning. How could she not be hungry? If the lunch is not rich, she will not be able to hold on to the afternoon class. Yes. You choose what to eat. I'll pay for it, and I'll eat until you are satisfied. Then, I want to eat roasted whole lamb. Tangruaxi sniffed, her eyes red from crying. The girl wiped away her tears and looked at GLUO with watery eyes, with an expression that said, if you don't agree, I will cry immediately. Okay, no problem. Roasted whole lamb. GLUO had never heard of having roasted whole lamb for lunch, but Tangruaxi wanted to eat it. What could he say? He would sacrifice his life to accompany a gentleman. That's better. Tangruaxi took 2 steps forward, took several tissues from the table, wiped her tears, and blew her nose. I'll go out first. You hurry up and get dressed. I'm hungry. Let's go now. Okay. Right away GLUO finally realized what it meant to commit a sin. He had lured Tangruaxi here, just to learn the 36 moves of the Thunder Hand. Good guy. He had created a little ancestor. Not only did he have to pay her a generous salary, but he also had to comfort her inner trauma. It's difficult. Nowadays, if children don't have good relationships with their classmates, it's not just a personality problem, but an emotional intelligence problem. Chapter 135, Eliminating Hostility. Because Tangruaxi was waiting at the door, GLUO did not dare to waste time. He quickly changed his clothes and walked out of the room with wet hair. Huh, you're so slow. Tangruaxi leaned against the wall of the corridor. Except for the slightly red eyes, there was no trace of crying. Sorry, I kept you waiting. Although GLUO was not good at chasing girls, he was very experienced in how to calm down his anger. Tangruaxi didn't really dislike GLUO's slowness. She was just being upset. Now that GLUO apologized directly, the girl felt that she was a little unreasonable. Let's go. We have to come back in the afternoon. I still have classes. Okay, you have the final say. GLUO made a gesture of invitation, and Tang Ruoxi walked in front without hesitation. When the girl turned around, GLUO vaguely saw the smile she couldn't hold back. Obviously, the first level was passed. Most of the employees of Shaodao Fitness Gym actually knew Tang Ruoxi very well. After all, when she knocked on the door, her momentum was really scary. Now that Tang Ruoxi has become a temporary instructor, her attitude is extremely arrogant. Apart from GLUO, only Zhu Yi can talk to her. She will respond to other people's greetings, but when it comes to chatting, she basically just says HMM. During working hours, Tang Ruoxi didn't care about other people's eyes. She went downstairs and walked straight out the door. GLUO followed her, explained to the service desk at the door, and found a barely acceptable excuse. What are you grinning at? You're so stupid. Tang Ruoxi stood in the elevator, looking at GLUO's smiling face next to her, and she felt angry. Why? He and she came to challenge the gym together that day, but he became the master of traditional martial arts, and she could only leave in disgrace. Now the two of them finally work together on an equal footing, but when those people saw him, their faces were wrinkled with laughter. But when they saw her, they immediately looked as if they had lost money, and their faces drooped. I was wondering where we should go to eat roasted whole lamb. Is there a shop you're familiar with? GLUO couldn't help but smile. He now thought Tang Ruoxi was really cute. She was already in high school, but she still looked like a junior high school student. She was also very serious. Not only was she very easy to deceive, but she also always liked to compete with others. No wonder she couldn't chat with others. Of course. Bring money. I can't even afford a meal. Tang Ruoxi looked at GLUO's snickering face and felt angry, but he couldn't stop himself from laughing. He could only swear in his heart that he would eat more later until he went bankrupt. Don't worry, I'll definitely have enough money. Humph, that's good. Tang Ruoxi snorted proudly. The elevator stopped, and she walked out first. Her angry look scared the people waiting for the elevator outside. Tang Ruoxi, how do we get there? Take a taxi? Don't you have a car? No. If you don't have one, take a taxi. Tang Ruoxi walked on the road, but she didn't mock GLUO anymore. She took out her phone, operated the app, and booked a taxi. I don't know if she really disliked GLUO. Anyway, Tang Ruoxi didn't say a word to GLUO while waiting for the taxi. GLUO stood beside her, leisurely picking ants on the tree, and didn't think of making her frown. Obviously, GLUO's indifferent attitude made Tang Ruoxi even more angry. Adolescent girls are always simple and mysterious. After the taxi came, Tang Ruoxi glared at GLUO and sat in the back seat first. GLUO didn't expect Tang Ruoxi to do this. He didn't know the way. Would he be a fool sitting in the front? So GLUO also chose to sit in the back seat. Tang Ruoxi sat at the other end. He didn't expect GLUO to sit next to him shamelessly. He turned his face away proudly, but didn't say anything. Where are you two going? Let's go along the main road and leave the city first. Tang Ruoxi directly chose the restaurant address outside the city. GLUO didn't expect to go so far. The round trip would take at least 3 hours. Tang Ruoxi pouted and glanced at GLUO, as if she knew what he was thinking. She explained in a bad tone. The roasted whole lamb in that restaurant is delicious. I have wanted to eat it for a long time. I didn't mean to delay time. Okay, as long as you like it. GLUO wanted to apologize to Tang Ruoxi, so he naturally wouldn't bother about the place to eat. Hearing GLUO say this, Tang Ruoxi's face also improved a lot. Don't worry, I have his phone number. I'll go as early as possible and ask him to start roasting now. We can eat it when we get there. It won't take too much time. As a girl who likes to eat roasted whole lamb, Tang Ruoxi was a little relieved by GLUO's good attitude. Seeing that Tang Ruoxi was able to communicate, GLUO no longer deliberately left her alone and talked to her about some topics about fists and feet. Tang Ruoxi didn't say much at first, but under GLUO's deliberate asking for advice, the girl who likes to teach others slowly opened up. In fact, Tang Ruoxi didn't really seem to be angry with GLUO, but the shyness and stubbornness in the girl's heart made her have to show a little more resistance. After all, GLUO didn't know what those girls said about her behind her back at school. Anyway, they were all gossipy. Although she was angry, Tang Ruoxi was not really angry. She just thought of these gossips when she saw GLUO, and she felt embarrassed. After all, GLUO was not only not ugly, but also very handsome, with high martial arts value. Although his personality was a bit bad, it was not bad. Tang Ruoxi had always disliked it, and defeated all of them, but facing GLUO, she had no way to resist, and could only be angry. In the girl's heart, the boundary between love and hate was not so obvious, but it was different just thinking about it. GLUO, since you mainly practice spear, you must also practice free-hand combat well. Spears are medium to short-range weapons. When facing close combat, they are almost useless, so you must master your fists and feet. When Tang Ruoxi talked about martial arts, her expression became serious. GLUO was still laughing at first, but he became serious halfway through. Tang Ruoxi has been practicing martial arts since she was a child, and she is also an embryo of an evolver. Her talent is definitely rare in the world. GLUO can't ignore the advice of such a person. Today is Tang Ruoxi's first day at work. The main arrangement is actually to familiarize herself. GLUO didn't go to the first class because he was afraid that she would be nervous. But in 2 days, Tang Ruoxi will start teaching the 36 moves of Thunder Hands, and GLUO will definitely sit in. GLUO can't work in vain after spending so much effort to pull her over. Tang Ruoxi, I heard someone say before that the skills of spears and bare-handed martial arts are actually common to each other. Is it true? It makes sense, but it's not entirely true. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 136, Abnormality. On the way to the hotel, GLUO and Tang Ruoxi chatted happily, especially GLUO's attitude of asking questions without shame, which made Tang Ruoxi's desire to teach burst. Of course, this also shows from the side how poor GLUO's martial arts skills are. In front of the martial arts instructor, GLUO is a master of martial arts. Many stupid and basic questions GLUO dare not ask, and only in front of Tang Ruoxi, GLUO can show this embarrassment without scruples. Finally arrived, Tang Ruoxi sat in the car seat and maintained a posture for more than an hour. Now she can finally move around, and the girl ran down. GLUO was not in a hurry to get off the car. He took out his mobile phone and was about to pay the fare, but he didn't expect the driver to wave his hand and said that Tang Ruoxi had already paid. Is this a matter of one thing? GLUO got off the car and looked at Tang Ruoxi jumping around and couldn't help but smile. Youth, it's great. What was he doing when he was 16? It seemed that he was still hanging out in the forum all day, looking for people like him. GLUO, the roast lamb will be ready soon. Do you want some chili? Yes, add as much as you want. GLUO wanted to walk over, but he didn't expect that a message suddenly came to his phone, so he could only shout in response. Wang Zilin's message? GLUO really didn't expect that Wang Zilin would suddenly send him a message. In this timeline, he refused to help with the transportation of Zinke biopharmaceuticals. Since then, Wang Zilin hasn't contacted him for nearly 2 months. Why did he suddenly send him a message today? Have the route and date of the transportation been set? Depart from Changlin City on February 12th? Isn't this the Lantern Festival on the 15th day of the first lunar month? Can't you wait even a day? GLUO has been busy with the auction recently and almost forgot about the transportation of Mu Yingluo. Fortunately, Wang Zilin was considerate enough. GLUO only explained it in one sentence, and he told him specifically. Of course, it may also be that Wang Zilin deliberately pretended to be cool to let GLUO see that even without him, their freight company can still receive big orders. One thing after another, it's urgent enough. Gluo hesitated for a moment and sent a message of congratulations to Wang Zilin. Wang Zilin replied very quickly and in a good tone. After chatting for a while, Gluo basically understood the whole process of transportation. Wang Zilin happened to have something else to do, so the two stopped messaging. There's still a little more than half a month. Disgusting things, they don't let people spend the new year in peace. Gluo stood there for a while, sorted out his thoughts, and wrote down the important things in the mobile phone notepad. Hey, Gluo, the lamb is roasted. Come over and eat. In the distance, Tang Ruoxi shouted Gluo's name loudly. Gluo waved his hand in response, checked the information he wrote down again, and then put away his phone. Gluo, what are you doing? You're so slow. Tang Ruoxi was quite considerate and didn't eat alone. She ran over, pulled Gluo's arm, and walked into the restaurant. Gluo had already sorted out his thoughts, so he didn't break away from Tang Ruoxi at this time. He was dragged by her into a private room, where a whole roasted lamb had been placed on the table. Sorry, a message suddenly came in, which delayed me a little. Is it done now? Yes, it's done. Gluo and Tang Ruoxi didn't care about the position, and sat together directly. The table for roasted lamb was very large, probably with a capacity of 10 to 15 people. At this time, Gluo and Tang Ruoxi sat here, which looked very funny. Waiter, please remove the glass turntable and put it directly on the table. Although Tang Ruoxi was not the one who paid, she was a serious host. She didn't explain and asked the waiter to start working. 7 or 8 people came over before they finally put everything in place. Tang Ruoxi, this smells good, very good. Gluo actually didn't like this kind of all meat barbecue, but the roasted lamb in this restaurant was very special. The whole lamb was cut and placed on the plate, and various vegetables were spread underneath, and paired with their secret sauce, which made people's appetites open just by looking at it. Of course, I'm a professional barbecue critic. Gluo, do you want a drink? I only ordered a drink. No, I still have to work in the afternoon, so drinking is not good. Okay, let's eat. Tang Ruoxi was a beautiful girl with good manners after all. She didn't move her chopsticks eagerly, but first picked up a plate for Gluo, and then took care of herself. Thank you. Gluo took the plate handed by Tang Ruoxi, filled her and himself with juice, and then ate without hesitation. Yeah. Delicious. This kind of crispy skin is my favorite. Gluo had to admit that Tang Ruoxi knew how to eat. The roasted whole lamb in this store really tasted very good, especially with the side dishes. It was not greasy at all. Not bad. Follow me. You're welcome. Tang Ruoxi snorted proudly, took a sip of juice, and then picked up the lamb leg and began to feast on it. The other hand was not idle either, and she directly grabbed the vegetables to eat. Recently, Tang Ruoxi has been eating more and more, and she can eat to a level that is not normal. In the past, even if she practiced martial arts for an entire afternoon, she could only eat 3 steamed buns at most. But since a month ago, she has been able to eat 10 steamed buns in one meal. Is this normal? This is not normal. Tang Ruoxi even secretly went to the hospital for a checkup, but the doctor said that she was as healthy as a calf and had no disease. Tang Ruoxi didn't believe the results of the first checkup, so she deliberately found another hospital, and the test results were exactly the same. She was indeed not sick. In order not to worry her parents, Tang Ruoxi could only deliberately control her diet at home, which resulted in her not being able to eat enough in the morning and evening, and she could only find opportunities to eat outside. This also led to Tang Ruoxi's small treasury being quickly drained, let alone crypt in gold. If this continued, she would not even have money to eat a full meal. Forced to do so, Tang Ruoxi could only compromise and accepted Gluo's invitation to become a temporary instructor at Xiaodao Fitness Center. Anyway, Tang Ruoxi did not take the initiative. It was Gluo who invited her. For many days, Tang Ruoxi had been craving for this roasted whole lamb, and she wanted to eat the whole lamb. In order not to scare her parents, Tang Ruoxi did not dare to come with them, and could only drag Gluo with her to be the scapegoat. Anyway, Tang Ruoxi did not have to worry about anything in front of Gluo. When she was with others, she was on the strong side and had to put on airs. But facing Gluo, who crushed her in all aspects, Tang Ruoxi could only hate him so much that she could only take advantage of her gender and age. Damn, the unparalleled Grandmaster Tang Ruoxi actually had to rely on age and gender to win. How pathetic and angry is this? Thinking of this, Tang Ruoxi took a fierce bite of the lamb leg, and her face was hideous while eating. Tang Ruoxi, are you a starving ghost reincarnated? Eat slowly, and order more, if it's not enough. Eating too fast is not good for your stomach. Chapter 137, Seeing Again. Tang Ruoxi looked like she was starving. She ate the crispy and fragrant barbecued meat in big mouthfuls. She didn't even have time to reply to Gluo's words. She could only stare with her eyes wide open and hum twice. No one is competing with you for it. Why are you in such a hurry? Gluo was a little scared by Tang Ruoxi's eating style. How could such a cute and serious girl like a starving ghost now? Are you very hungry? Gluo felt that something was wrong. He stopped eating with his chopsticks and started to pick up food for Tang Ruoxi. The plate in front of the girl was soon piled high. Tang Ruoxi put down the half-eaten leg of lamb and ate the meat on the plate. Because it was cut, the meat was a little smaller. The girl was finally able to talk while eating. I'm not hungry, I just want to eat. I really want to eat. I want to eat. Gluo picked up the cup and took a sip of juice. He looked at Tang Ruoxi carefully and had some guesses in his mind. Although Gluo had never experienced Tang Ruoxi's situation, he clearly remembered that after awakening the original talent, his appetite increased greatly. During that time, Gluo could basically eat the meals of 4 or 5 people by himself. It was not until 10 days and a half a month later that he passed the peak. At that time, Gluo was not hungry, but he wanted to eat very much and could not stop. Is this a sign? Gluo put down the cup in his hand and took a few more bites of vegetables with chopsticks. In this time, Tang Ruoxi had eaten up a full plate of meat. Gluo, what are you looking at? Eat it. If you don't eat it, I will eat it all. Eat it. I'm not very hungry. If you don't eat it, order more. Gluo also likes to eat meat, but this kind of barbecued meat is also very greasy. Yeah. Then order me some grilled vegetables. This eggplant is delicious. And some more fruit wine. I want to drink it. Tang Ruoxi's mouth is now full of oil. With such a petite body, her stomach cannot be too big. But at this time, Tang Ruoxi kept eating meat, and there was no sign of stopping. Okay, I'll give you some. Gluo was very curious about Tang Ruoxi's current state, and naturally he would satisfy her small requests. Not long after, several plates full of grilled vegetables came up, and a full range of fruit wine was also brought over. So cool. Tang Ruoxi ate heartily and devoted herself to the food. This abnormal state would definitely be noticed by her at ordinary times. However, at this moment, Tang Ruoxi's mind was only full of eating, and there was no room for other thoughts. Gluo sat next to Tang Ruoxi and stopped eating very early. He didn't starve himself, but he didn't eat too much. Eating too much would affect the performance of the battle. If something happened later, it would be difficult to deal with. Looking at Tang Ruoxi eating and drinking, Gluo was almost certain that the girl's body was about to undergo changes. This is a process of officially entering an evolver from an ordinary person. Any situation during this period may be a rule, so it is necessary to observe carefully. Burp. I'm full. Tang Ruoxi had been eating non-stop for more than an hour. She almost ate a whole roasted lamb, as well as enough vegetables to feed 2 or 3 adults, and drank more than a dozen bottles of fruit wine. Finally, she was full. I don't know if it was because of the wine, but at this time, Tang Ruoxi's cheeks were red, and she was still drowsy and smiling. Gluo, today's meal was very enjoyable. It was the most I've eaten recently. I forgive you. Tang Ruoxi must have retained her rationality, but she looked dazed. She looked like she was drunk and sleepy, and had lost her ability to think. I am sleepy. I'll take a nap first. Tang Ruoxi piled the plates in front of her in the middle of the table, then lifted the tablecloth in front of her, climbed directly onto the table, and fell asleep completely in a few breaths. Tang Ruoxi? Tang Ruoxi? GLUO moved the stool to the side and shook Tang Ruoxi, but at this time, the girl did not respond at all like a dead pig. If she was not still breathing, people would even mistakenly think she was dead. What is this? Eat and drink enough, and then hibernate? GLUO quietly lifted Tang Ruoxi's eyelids. The girl's pupils were abnormally dilated, as if they had lost their souls. GLUO had seen many people who slept soundly, but he had never seen Tang Ruoxi in this state. GLUO was sure that Tang Ruoxi had entered a state of deep sleep. Not to mention beating gongs and drums. Even beating her up might not wake her up. Because the transformation of an evolver involves the soul. We can only wait. GLUO looked at Tang Ruoxi's dead pig look and basically gave up her afternoon shift. The girl's current state was really mysterious. GLUO couldn't make up his mind and simply didn't move her. However, the private room where GLUO and the others were sitting had a whole glass wall on the outside, and people outside could see the situation in the room. In order to prevent complications, GLUO got up and closed the curtains. However, when GLUO suddenly saw the situation outside, he froze in his place like a speechless person, like a carved stone, because, at this moment, the blue sky outside the window had turned into a huge pupil. In the clear sky with light clouds, the sky was like a layer of emerald ice. Under the sunlight like a thin curtain, a huge pupil across the sky was hanging above the sky, staring at the carefree world. It had been nearly 2 months since the last time he saw the giant pupil. GLUO was immersed in his daily life with Sukinghan and even forgot the existence of it. However, at this moment, it was as if a bucket of ice water was poured on his head, and GLUO's heart was so cold that he didn't have any luck. Why? What happened? Why did it spy without any signs this time? Why did the sound that resounded in his mind in the past disappear? GLUO could even think that in the past 2 months, on the nights when he was sleeping, the giant pupil silently spied on the earth, and then left silently. I don't know how many times. GLUO raised his head, panting and even a little dizzy. At this moment, the sky he saw in his eyes was already encompassed and filled by this giant pupil. The pupil with a diameter of nearly 3 kilometers was as deep and distant as the deep space, emitting the dazzling color of the stars when they disappeared. It stared at the noisy world quietly without any emotion. A few minutes later, the unknown existence outside the sky finally gave up spying. It silently moved its pupils back, and the darkness and fog gradually spread and wrapped, making its grand corner disappear. Is it over? Or? GLUO could no longer trust his own judgment. Worry and uneasiness mixed in his heart, and his head was a mess. The next moment, a thunderous sound suddenly hit GLUO's mind. Chapter 138. Long time. Hesitantly, GLUO felt the familiar pain again. His head seemed to be hit hard by a hammer, and his mind was blank. Fortunately, after becoming a true evolver, GLUO's endurance and resistance had become significantly stronger. After this soul shock, GLUO successfully kept his consciousness and did not faint directly. However, under the severe pain, GLUO could only squat on the ground, curled up in pain, and shivered. Arsehole. GLUO gritted his teeth and raised his head hard, as if he was not willing to succumb to the pain. GLUO's eyes were full of bloodshot, and his anger and unwillingness seemed to burn into a sea of fire. At this moment, outside the sky like a emerald ice layer, the huge black claws had already chiseled into the boundary wall, and obvious cracks began to spread in the sky, even giving people an illusion that it was about to break. Could it be? GLUO has been observing the giant pupil for 3 years. In fact, deep in his heart, he is already full of despair. There will always be a day when the unknown existence outside the sky will break the boundaries of the dimension and descend into this world. Then, there is the doomsday and disaster that cannot be resisted. Because he knew, because of despair, GLUO has been wandering and walking casually for so many years. However, GLUO never thought that the doomsday would come so soon. He just found someone he likes, and he hasn't confessed his feelings to her yet, and he hasn't married her yet. No. GLUO stood up from the ground. His voice was hoarse, and he couldn't speak clearly. For the first time, GLUO hoped that there really was a hero who could save the world. Anyone can do it. Fortunately, everything has not reached the worst. After a few seconds, the claws of the unknown existence pulled away from the sky, slowly disappeared in the darkness and fog, and never appeared again. Afterwards, the damage on the sky began to heal and disappear, but unlike the last time, in GLUO's sight, he saw a wisp of black and purple smoke seeping over before the sky was repaired. And then, it disappeared instantly. Is it my illusion? GLUO just blinked, and he no longer saw the black and purple smoke. Because the color was too subtle, GLUO himself could not be sure whether it was his illusion. However, whether it was an illusion or not, GLUO was sure that he could not find the smoke. Crash. GLUO stared at the sky for a while, and then pulled the curtains to isolate everything outside. GLUO sat back in the chair, and found that he was sweating all over. It is difficult to describe GLUO's current mood. There is confusion, fear, powerlessness, and even some luck. After all, compared to the worst outcome, the world has not yet been destroyed. Although the end of the world is imminent, at least it has not come yet, and there is still time to fall in love. Haha, so those who fall in love before the end of the world are really courageous and have big hearts. Ha. The end of the world is coming. What are the heroes doing? Are they free? Can they come to save us? GLUO wiped the sweat off his cheeks with a tissue, drank some water, and rested for a while, finally returning to his usual appearance. Tangruoxi has great potential to be a pig. She eats and sleeps soundly. Even when the sky falls, she still has sweet dreams. GLUO looked at Tangruoxi sleeping soundly and couldn't help but stretch out his hand to look at her forehead. But GLUO didn't expect that before he knocked on Tangruoxi's head, the girl suddenly frowned, as if she had a nightmare. So, GLUO's hand in the air changed its movement. He didn't knock on Tangruoxi's head, but wiped her eyebrows with his fingers to smooth her frown. Don't frown at such a young age. What do you have to worry about? GLUO didn't know why, although he had just experienced the horror of escaping death. At this time, when he looked at Tangruoxi sleeping soundly, his heart suddenly settled down. This is probably the so-called support. No matter what desperate situation happens, he, the senior evolver, will eventually be at the forefront. Tangruoxi, the newcomer, can only be said to have a promising future. Now, she still needs his protection. As a protector, GLUO cannot panic, because if he panics, the situation will completely collapse. Simple panic is enough to drive everyone crazy. Tangruoxi didn't know if it was because she felt GLUO. Her originally tight brows actually relaxed. The girl even showed a smile, moved her cheeks on her arms, and continued to sleep deeply. Looking at Tangruoxi's dead pig appearance, GLUO even felt a little sleepy. He sat on the chair and sat there for a while. Then, GLUO imitated Tangruoxi's movements, put the plate in the middle of the table, lifted the tablecloth, and lay on the table, and fell asleep in a daze. GLUO himself knew very well that he was dreaming. Everything in the dream was not clear, but there was a very familiar feeling. Long aftertaste. History is a long spear with rust on it, and memories are cracked walls and clock towers. GLUO seemed to be walking on a long street, looking at the empty and deserted surroundings, feeling a little scared and lonely. So he turned around. What he saw was a little boy with a lot of spirit. The boy looked only 7 or 8 years old, with big and bright eyes, as if they were full of cleverness and mischievous emotions. He squatted in the corner, using a magnifying glass to focus the sunlight and burn the hard-working ants to death. It's not good for your eyes to stare like this. GLUO walked to the little boy, who turned his head and stared at GLUO for a while, blinked his eyes, and pouted his lips in a very defiant way. Humph. Only people with stupid brains and weak bodies will have eye pain. Mom said I'm smart and healthy, and I won't be as fragile as a stupid kid. Silly boy, this kind of focusing is not good for the retina, regardless of the strength of the body. GLUO leaned closer to the little boy and squatted down. The little boy snorted, and although his expression was very disdainful, he still made way for GLUO to squat beside him. Look at me, I'm an old master. GLUO is good at all kinds of things to kill time. He used to often use a magnifying glass to look at ants, so he is more than one level higher than the little boy. TSK. I don't believe it. Although the little boy's expression and tone are very annoying, He still handed the magnifying glass to GLUO. GLUO first wiped the lens, and then began to focus carefully until the sunlight was gathered into a small dot. He met the skyfire ants. The angle chosen by GLUO was very perfect, and the sunlight was very strong. In just 2 or 3 seconds, the ants that had been crawling around stopped in place and were roasted into dried ants. How about it? Awesome. You are so skilled. You must have no friends. Chapter 139. Barely passing. The little boy with her arrogant expression was undoubtedly the kind of annoying brat. He mercilessly exposed GLUO's pain, causing GLUO, who was originally in a good mood, to explode instantly. You kid, do you know what it means to see through but not speak out? Do you still have friends? GLUO turned his head fiercely, pinched the little boy's cheeks with both hands and pulled him, making him only whimper. Humph. It's your poisonous mouth that caused you to have no friends and have to roast ants with a magnifying glass alone. Nonsense. It's obviously me who doesn't want to pay attention to them. A bunch of idiots. Weak, stupid and hypocritical. The little boy was also hurt by GLUO's way of being a person. He pretended to be indifferent, snatched the magnifying glass from GLUO's hand, and started roasting ants again. However, at this time, the boy was obviously confused, and he couldn't stare at a small ant to death even with a moving spotlight. GLUO squatted beside the little boy, looking at his depressed look, and felt a little regretful in his heart. It was not good for him to die together with an 8-year-old child. Okay, don't be sad. No friends. No friends. It's also good to live happily alone. GLUO touched the little boy's hair, pretending to comfort the child, but who knew that the boy's short hair was unexpectedly prickly, making GLUO feel very bad. Humph. You are not bad. Not like those stupid adults. Preaching is always troublesome and useless. The little boy seemed to be very satisfied with GLUO's affirmation of him. He turned his head, looked GLUO up and down, and nodded with satisfaction. Just barely passed, although I felt that you were terrible when I saw you at first sight, but after getting to know you carefully, you are still satisfactory. GLUO really didn't expect that this little boy with a naughty face could show such a mature attitude. GLUO knew very well that he was dreaming, but he was very curious about why such a strange little boy suddenly appeared in his dream. In order to get rid of the sense of disharmony in his heart, GLUO stretched out his hand and wanted to rubbing the little boy's head to let him recognize his age. However, GLUO's right hand was just raised when it was held by the little boy. Have you encountered any difficulties recently? Why did you look so miserable just now, as if you were going to die? Yes, I did encounter a big crisis. Let me tell you a secret. I found out the world is going to be destroyed. GLUO was amused by the serious expression of the little boy, so GLUO teased the coming of the doomsday, hoping to scare the little boy. If he couldn't do it, he would tease him. However, what GLUO didn't expect was that after listening to his words, the little boy actually nodded seriously, and it seemed that he had believed what GLUO said. So that's how it is. The world is going to be destroyed. Since it's a crisis of the doomsday level, it's reasonable to have a look of shock. Hey, do you really believe what I said? It's the end of the world. Okay. GLUO was frightened by the little boy's attitude. Although it was a dream, GLUO still regretted saying such a thing. Why shouldn't I believe it? That's what you said. Could it be that you often lie to people? Everything you say is a lie? The little boy stared at GLUO with a questioning look on his face. GLUO lowered his head embarrassedly and could only shake his head to deny it. No, I'm an honest and reliable young man. I always tell the truth. I just don't want to scare you. I'm not scared. Anyway, I won't die. The little boy was now attracted by GLUO's words. He put away the magnifying glass and stopped roasting ants. Instead, he held GLUO's right hand with his left hand and read his palm. There is a line on your lifeline. You have suffered a great disaster and barely survived. It's not easy. As for your love line, it's a bit tortuous, and you have a lot of luck with women. Many women are eyeing you. Be careful. As for your career line, it's a mess. It seems that you have done a lot of work, but nothing has been achieved. There seems to be a turn for the better in the future, but it's difficult. The little boy frowned and pretended to be a half immortal, which made GLUO laugh. He raised his hand and knocked on the little boy's head. The boy rubbed his forehead and pouted at GLUO. Okay, don't be so sad. I can be sure that you won't die so soon. The world is in danger. Others can't save it, so you go and save it. It's not a big deal. Me? Save the world? I wonder, do I have the ability to do it? GLUO was very disdainful of the little boy's attitude. He pulled back his grabbed hand, squeezed the little boy's cheek with both hands, and rubbed it hard a few times. Little friend, a hero is not just someone holding a flashlight. I confirmed a long time ago that I don't have that ability. It's important for people to know themselves. Woo woo. Woo woo woo. The little boy couldn't even say a complete sentence as GLUO rubbed his cheek. He stared, obviously irritated by GLUO. Seeing the little boy about to explode, GLUO quickly stopped his hand. The little boy rubbed his cheek with his hand, and his expression was extremely stubborn. Don't you just need strength? That's fine. Which of the 12 constellations do you like best? What? The 12 zodiac signs? Which one do you like best? GLUO looked at the little boy trying to prove something, and he just felt very funny in his heart. The child was really confident in himself, and always thought that there were no difficulties in this world. I like Aries. I'm an Aries. Okay. The little boy ignored GLUO's smiling face. He just raised his right hand and pressed his index finger on GLUO's forehead a little harder. Ah, it hurts. GLUO felt that the little boy was just taking revenge on him by hitting his head. He had to admit that the little boy's hand was quite strong, and his head hurt. Wait, it hurts. Am I dreaming? Why do I feel pain? GLUO covered his forehead and raised it in a daze. The little boy opposite him looked at him and sighed speechlessly. I'm such a fool. The little boy obviously knew something, but he didn't want to explain to GLUO. He just propped up his knees with his hands and tried to stand up. GLUO hurriedly reached out and grabbed his arm, wanting him to wait. GLUO, what are you doing? My mother bought me a lot of milk candies. Do you want to eat them? Huh? GLUO suddenly heard someone calling his name from behind. The voice sounded very childish. It was a little girl who was not old enough. GLUO had never heard of it in his memory, but it felt very familiar. So, GLUO turned his head, and a very cute little girl appeared in his sight. The girl was about 7 or 8 years old, and was in the process of changing her teeth. She was missing one of her front teeth, and looked very cute. Chapter 140, Little Boy. You are. GLUO frowned in confusion as he looked at the little girl approaching. He was clearly dreaming, so why could someone call out his name when he didn't know her? However, the slow-moving little girl ignored GLUO's question. She didn't even look at GLUO, but stared at the little boy opposite him. GLUO, who is this big brother? Do you know him? No, I don't know him. Don't bother. The little boy showed an impatient expression on his face. He shook off GLUO's hand and got up from the ground. Oh, the little girl listened to the little boy very much. When the little boy said not to bother GLUO, she really didn't care. She just walked to the little boy with a bright smile, took out a candy from her pocket, peeled off the sugar coating, and wanted to put it in his mouth. GLUO, eat candy, it's so sweet. Eugen, I've already told you that I don't like sweet food. You're changing your teeth, and you're still eating candy. If you don't want your teeth to be hollowed out by worms in the future, eat less. The little boy was very aggressive, but he didn't really refuse the little girl's candy. He held the candy in his mouth, and his face was still reluctant, but helpless. The little girl was also an old dog. Not only was she not hit by the little boy's attitude, but she smiled sweetly and nodded very seriously. I remember, I've agreed with my mother that I'll only eat these, and I won't eat them anymore. Well, that's about right. The little boy was very adult-like and nodded very provocatively, as if he approved something. And the little boy was still fooling around. She took out a handful of candy from her pocket and stuffed it all into the little boy's pocket. GLUO, you eat candy too. You eat more, and I eat less. Well. The little boy had a cold attitude at this time, and he was completely different from the one who just roasted ants with a magnifying glass. GLUO squatted on one side, looked at the little boy, then turned to look at the little girl, and felt that his brain was not enough. You are GLUO? She is a Nugin? Of course I'm GLUO. Of course she is a Nugin. The little boy seemed to have talked about GLUO's attitude a long time ago. He never hid anything from GLUO from beginning to end, but GLUO was too stupid to notice it at all. What is going on? GLUO knew that he was dreaming, but how could he dream like this, feel pain, and pick up his past self? So, I'm such a fool. The little boy repeated the sentence with a double entendre again, and at this time, GLUO really understood it. However, the little boy did not give GLUO a chance to ask, but asked GLUO first. A Nugin is in poor health, and has a serious genetic disease. Did you know that? I don't know. Is she dead? No, I heard that she went abroad for treatment and never came back. What's your impression of her? No impression, I just know that she was a junior high school classmate. Oh. The little boy understood something with just a few words. He didn't ask questions, but waved to a Nugin, motioning her to walk away. The little girl just heard her name and was looking at GLUO in confusion, but the little boy didn't let her listen, and she didn't dare to stay any longer, so she could only walk away reluctantly. After a Nugin walked away, the little boy made sure that she couldn't hear the conversation between the two, then turned around again and looked at GLUO. Today, I was bored and wanted to find someone to roast ants with me, but I didn't expect this to happen. You came here to seek strength. Now that you have got what you want, it's time to go back. Also, I'll give you a reminder that everything you have experienced is engraved on Taurus. The boy's clear eyes suddenly became deep. GLUO listened to his instructions with a confused look on his face. Just when GLUO wanted to ask about the matter, the boy waved his hand casually, and GLUO began to fall backwards uncontrollably. And then, it was a long, dark fall. When people are dreaming, everything is very clear, but when the dream ends and consciousness recovers, everything in the dream begins to blur. Those emotions that flow in the dream become as calm and trickling as a stream, and the memories that can make people doubt reality and dreams are quietly put behind their heads. GLUO woke up from his dream in a daze. The moment he opened his eyes, he suddenly felt as if he was in another world. However, after waking up, those strange feelings were quietly cleared. GLUO still vaguely remembered what happened in the dream, but the meaning was no longer enough to make him worry. After all, just like countless dreams of ordinary people, what GLUO experienced was just a strange dream that was difficult to recall. I slept for an hour. GLUO took out his mobile phone and looked at the time. It seemed that he didn't sleep for long, but he felt very tired. GLUO got up from the chair, opened the curtains, and the window was bright. The blue sky was cloudless. It was rare to have such warm sunshine in winter. There were several children playing outside the hotel. Everything looked peaceful and beautiful. GLUO stood there for a while, then he closed the curtains again, then walked to the door and turned on the lights. Why are you so tired? GLUO stretched his body and felt that he was unexpectedly tired after sleeping. Was it because of his posture? Or was it because of his previous experience that caused psychological problems and made him think wildly in his dreams? GLUO carefully checked himself and found nothing wrong. Of course, he didn't become stronger for no apparent reason. The little boy in the dream said that he gave me the power I was looking for. It's all fake, all bubbles. GLUO was quite eager in his heart. Suddenly, a surge of power surged in his body, and then he became very strong, becoming an invincible figure like One Punch Man. But unfortunately, reality is always cruel and cold, and it can't accommodate even the slightest dream. Tangruoxi, this little pig is still sleeping. GLUO felt a little thirsty, so he poured himself a glass of water. The water had already cooled down a little. GLUO drank 3 glasses in a row, and finally felt comfortable. But GLUO sat on the chair again, picked up the leftovers on the table, and ate a few bites. Beside GLUO, Tangruoxi was still sleeping quietly. Her breathing was long, and her cheeks, which were originally red, had returned to whiteness. Although the alcohol content of fruit wine was low, Tangruoxi drank more than a dozen bottles, and she hadn't gone to the toilet yet. This is. Gluo looked at the sleeping face of the girl, criticizing her in his heart, but at a certain moment, Gluo suddenly felt a sense of disobedience. At this moment, Tang Ruoxi was undergoing some changes. Chapter 141, the cutest in the world. Just like a night lotus blooming, a summer flower in full bloom, Tang Ruoxi, who was sleeping soundly, obviously had no changes, but at that moment, in Gluo's eyes, the girl had undergone an unimaginable transformation, as if she had transformed and reborn. Is this the original talent? Gluo felt the seriousness of the situation. He got up from his seat, rushed to the door immediately, and locked the door directly. Just locking the door was not enough for Gluo. He moved the table for serving dishes, and blocked the door directly. After doing all this, Gluo returned to Tang Ruoxi. At this time, the girl's transformation had been completed. She would gain her own superpowers, and begin to embark on the road of evolution step by step. Charm. Or, psychedelic? At this moment, Tang Ruoxi and Gluo's eyes suddenly became very cute. That's right. She was the kind of girl who was happy just by looking at her, and wanted to see her smile. She was so cute, that people were afraid of breaking her in their hands and afraid of melting her in their mouths. Asshole. The person is not awake yet. Is the superpower passive? Gluo hit his head hard twice, trying to wake himself up, but it was useless, forcing Gluo to close his eyes. Sure enough, when he couldn't see Tang Ruoxi, that feeling was gone. Passive, no consumption, infinite duration of the original talent, absolutely rare in the world. Although Gluo had only seen Sukinghan, an evolver besides himself, Gluo was sure that Tang Ruoxi must have awakened the super rare original talent. It's not an exaggeration to say that she is an SSR. After all, an evolver like Tang Ruoxi, even if she does nothing, just standing on the street, can cause onlookers and riots. She is more fascinating than a big star. Let me see. Gluo was still very curious about Tang Ruoxi's superpowers. Although he had taken Tang Ruoxi's superpowers, his return date might be exposed, but it would be okay to take a look. Just take a look, and return it to her immediately. Gluo opened his eyes carefully. In his eyes, Tang Ruoxi, who was sleeping soundly, was indeed extremely cute. She was so cute that Gluo couldn't control his hand and stretched it towards her cheek. World's #1 cuteness. If all the humans on the earth were ranked by cuteness, then there is no doubt that she is the first. After completing the acquisition, return date was transformed into world's #1 cuteness buff. This name, Gluo didn't know how everyone's original talent was clear. Anyway, this clear rule could be recognized by return date, so it definitely has its meaning. Now, I'm the world's #1 cuteness. Gluo took out his mobile phone and looked at himself on the screen of the mobile phone. Sure enough, the original sunny handsome boy completely turned into a cute boy. Ah, this is really unbearable. Its owner should never be a man. Gluo felt that his brain was broken at that moment. Without saying a word, he decisively gave up the acquisition of the original talent and returned the talent ability of world's #1 cuteness to Tang Ruoxi. I swear, I will never take away Tang Ruoxi's superpowers again in this life. There won't be a second time in this life. Gluo felt as if his brain was burned and his whole body was unwell. He sat back in the chair, buried his head in his palms, and felt very uncomfortable. Mental attack. It was definitely a mental attack. Gluo felt that he had met his nemesis. The abilities obtained by Tang Ruoxi were useless in combat, but she was always good at disgusting people. Ah, it hurts so much. Gluo, what's wrong with you? Did you have a stomachache? Tang Ruoxi, who had completed the awakening of the original talent, finally woke up from her deep sleep. She raised her head in a daze, and she didn't understand her situation yet. She just looked at Gluo's stupidity and couldn't help but reveal a sarcastic smile. You're the one who got a stomachache. Gluo immediately raised his head when he heard Tang Ruoxi's voice, but when he saw Tang Ruoxi, he instantly felt that his mind was distorted. He was going to refute her harshly with words, but when he got to his mouth, he almost turned into "I think you're so cute. Asshole." Hurry up and cover your face with a piece of cloth. It's a mental attack. GLUO just thought that Tang Ruox's original talent was stupid and useless except for attracting attention. But now, GLUO has changed his mind a little. Tang Ruox's world's #1 cuteness is a passive ability that has no consumption, no cooldown, no switch, and is permanently effective. Anyone who sees her will unconsciously think that she is the cutest person in the world. That's right, even if you have seen many cute boys and many girls before, as long as you see Tang Ruoxi, your brain will naturally make up your mind and put Tang Ruoxi's cuteness above all the people you have seen. What's even more terrifying is that its working principle is, if all the humans on Earth are ranked by cuteness, she is #1, which means that the more cute people you have seen, the more you will find Tang Ruoxi cute, and her cuteness will always be higher than other people in your memory and perception. What's wrong? Wait, I have awakened superpowers? Tang Ruoxi was just busy mocking GLUO. It was not until this time that she had the time to check herself, and the original talent ingrained in her soul, all its information, naturally emerged in Tang Ruox's mind. Me, the cutest in the world? What kind of ability is this? What's the use? As a beautiful girl who can eat and fight, Tang Ruoxi, the strongest of this generation of 36 Thunder Hands, never thinks that appearance is useful, and even sneers at it. Tang Ruoxi, who practices martial arts day and night, never puts on makeup or uses any skincare products. She just washes her face with water, and she is invincible without makeup. However, Tang Ruoxi never thought that she, who has always wanted to conquer the world with her fists, would actually awaken this superpower. Simply useless. Such a waste. Asshole. Tang Ruoxi seemed to be replicating GLUO's expression and was very uncomfortable with her own innate ability. In the girl's own feeling, this was her life creed being denied. Or, she was actually a woman who said one thing and thought another. Although she didn't care on the surface, she actually wanted to be the cutest girl in the world. How could this be? Tang Ruoxi covered her face, feeling uncomfortable all over, and when Tang Ruoxi lowered her head to cover her face, GLUO dared to raise his head. But at this time, in GLUO's eyes, Tang Ruoxi was almost like Medusa, and he didn't dare to look her in the face, no matter what he said. So, GLUO turned around, with his back to Tang Ruoxi, and he became a super keyboard warrior again, spraying Tang Ruoxi without any hesitation. Hey Tang Ruoxi, you got the point wrong. You should be happy that you have awakened your superpowers. Chapter 142, Surrender. Oh, that's right, I have awakened my superpowers. Tang Ruoxi seemed to be awakened by GLUO's words. The girl immediately stopped being irritable. She raised her head and blinked her eyes. After waking up, her brain relaxed for a while. Hey, that's not right. GLUO. How do you know that I have awakened my superpowers? How do I know? How come I don't know? GLUO was almost embarrassed by Tang Ruoxi's sudden inspiration. In GLUO's eyes, Tang Ruoxi was a serious girl with a straight mind, but he didn't expect that she was unexpectedly smart when she just woke up. Could it be that this is the legendary negative times negative equals positive? How do you know? Tang Ruoxi is a smart, good at eating and fighting beautiful girl. She looked around the room and pointed seriously. Could it be that? No wonder Humph. I didn't realize you had superpowers. No wonder you invited me to eat roasted whole lamb, and you weren't surprised that I ate so much. You shared a box with me, and you even drew the curtains and propped the door with a table. Tell me, have you awakened your superpowers a long time ago? The reason you asked me to be your instructor was because you had your eyes on me, right? You saw that I was going to awaken my superpowers, and you wanted to attack me. After all, Tang Ruoxi had gone through 9 years of compulsory education, as well as the poisoning of various novels, cartoons, and games. She hadn't thought so much at first, but the more she recalled GLUO's contact with her, the more she felt that GLUO had a problem. So, the girl didn't hesitate to use the most malicious speculation to target GLUO. Stop, stop, stop. What are you talking about? I don't. GLUO was glad that he was facing away from Tang Ruoxi. If the two were face to face, Gluo felt that he would definitely be exposed. Should we say that Tang Ruoxi guessed correctly, or that she has a big imagination? Anyway, in today's society, children mature very early, their brains are full of holes, and they dare to think of anything. Hey, is it useful to refute weakly? Turn around, look into my eyes, and say it again. Tang Ruoxi also felt that Gluo's quibbling was not serious. After all, he was well intentioned, and didn't care about her finding out about his situation. However, Tang Ruoxi was unwilling to accept it. She had always been teasing others, since she was a child. Who dared to target her? Only Gluo, this big devil, stuffed all the anger she had for most of her life into her mind in one breath. How could the girl not hate? How could she not take revenge? So, Tang Ruoxi looked at Gluo, who didn't even dare to look at her, and showed a devil smile. The more you don't want to, the more I want you to see that this bullshit superpower of the cutest in the world is still somewhat useful with her own evil thoughts. Tang Ruoxi grabbed Gluo's chair and twisted it violently, making Gluo face her. Come on, look at me, say your denial again, can you say it? The smile on Tang Ruoxi's face was extremely happy. Gluo covered his face and lowered his head, trying desperately not to look at her, while Tang Ruoxi tried to make Gluo take his hand covering his face and raise his head again. Of course, Tang Ruoxi didn't really use all her strength. She was actually half playing and half teasing Gluo. Stop, stop, stop. Tang Ruoxi, I surrender. I admit that I'm also an evolver. From the first meeting, I saw that you have great potential and are qualified to awaken superpowers. Facing Tang Ruoxi's attitude, Gluo knew that he could not hide it any longer. Before, their relationship was not equal, and it didn't matter if he didn't reveal anything. Now that Tang Ruoxi has also entered the world of evolvers, if he continues to hide it, it means he looks down on her and will become an enemy. I want to have a good relationship with you, so I have to go through so many twists and turns. Think about your part-time salary. Is there anyone in Changlin City who earns more than you? Well, that's about right. Tang Ruoxi looked at Gluo's completely submissive attitude and nodded with satisfaction. Sure enough, she was smart and had seen through everything a long time ago. How could Gluo hide it from her? Gluo, I do feel your kindness. However, don't expect me to be your accomplice. I've always remembered what you did to me. Before I take revenge, our relationship will never be more than friendly. Okay, I know. Gluo still buried his head and covered his cheeks with his hands to avoid seeing Tang Ruoxi or letting her see his expression. To be honest, even if Tang Ruoxi didn't have the original talent of world's cutest, she was still a very cute girl, not just in appearance, but also because she was kind and cute, serious and cute, and stubborn and cute. She is really a very good child. He go and regret it. Tang Ruoxi also knew that Gluo was pretending, but so what? Gluo pretended to surrender and surrendered. The relationship between the two was finally balanced. Think about it. Before, Gluo always had an expression on his face that he had her in his hands, and now, he still had to honestly admit his mistakes. Since Gluo had surrendered, Tang Ruoxi stopped teasing him. The girl withdrew her palm and her expression turned into curiosity. Gluo, what did you say about evolvers? Are people like us who have awakened superpowers all evolvers? No, I'm an evolver, but you are not. At most, you are half an evolver. You are just an embryo now, or a flower bud. Gluo actually knew only a little about evolvers, but to Tang Ruoxi, he was an old senior. I awakened my superpowers at the age of 14. It took 3 years for my body and soul to grow strong enough to cross the threshold of the evolver. Oh, 3 years. I just lit up the preconditioning talent. I can change my job when I reach the level later. Tang Ruoxi roughly understood what Gluo said. The cute and beautiful girl who was good at playing games changed the situation. Although Gluo felt a little different, he still nodded. Children need recognition. Tang Ruoxi is so stupid, can't she be given more care? Hey, Gluo, you idiot. It took me 3 years. I must have taken less time than you. Tang Ruoxi smiled into a tick, as if she was going to make Gluo look bad. In fact, the girl didn't have much confidence, but she had to hit Gluo. In Tang Ruox's heart, Gluo was a senior, and she had been completely crushed by him since they met. The girl didn't really want to compete with Gluo, but she couldn't lose in momentum. However, Tang Ruoxi didn't expect that Gluo's words just now were not a lie, but he hid the most important thing. Gluo used a vague concept to completely fool Tang Ruoxi. It took him 10 years to go from the step of awakening the original talent to the position of an evolver. An old rookie. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 143, Bluff. Of course I also think that you will be better than me. Gluo is so shameless that he doesn't hesitate to flatter himself. With the speed at which Gluo has only developed in the past 10 years, anyone can be better than him, let alone Tang Ruoxi. You are not bad either. Tang Ruoxi felt a little embarrassed when facing Gluo's straightforward recognition. After all, Tang Ruoxi is still young. As long as there is benefit and necessity, an old-fashioned man like Gluo will not save face. Tang Ruoxi, you couldn't beat me before, because you haven't awakened your original talent. Now, you have discovered your potential. I believe that you will surpass me soon. Gluo felt that Tang Ruoxi's emotions had calmed down, and immediately put down his hands that were covering his face. He hung his head, and the whole person looked bleak and lonely. Tang Ruoxi, before you grow up, I will protect you. For a person like me with a bleak future, it is my honor to be able to send you on your journey to a broad life. Gluo, you don't have to say that. Tang Ruoxi thought she had provoked Gluo. In her eyes, Gluo had always been tough and unreasonable, but now that Gluo showed his weakness, the girl felt a little guilty. In the future, I will definitely surpass you, but don't worry, even if I'm stronger than you, I will not bully you. Moreover, if someone comes to you for trouble, I will help you settle it. Thank you, Tang Ruoxi. It is my honor to meet you. Gluo was addicted to acting. He actually didn't expect it to be so successful. With just a few words, Tang Ruoxi, a girl with low IQ, conquered herself and raised her favorability. So, Tang Ruoxi is still young. A 16-year-old female high school student has not suffered the slightest bit of dirt and beating. Tyrannical force has become her hard shell, but in her heart, she is always a kind child. Gluo, I actually don't really hate you. Tang Ruoxi looked at Gluo's lonely appearance and felt a little reluctant in her heart. The girl now thinks carefully. Gluo actually didn't bully her much. The first time they met, she challenged Lao Shaoyuan, and Gluo stopped her with words. He not only crippled Lao Shaoyuan and helped his senior brother to avenge, but also didn't let her do it, so as not to get into trouble again. Later, he called several times, wanting her to come to Xiaodao Fitness Center as a traditional martial arts instructor. She refused several times, but he still persisted. In the end, Gluo must have had no choice but to find her at the school gate and use bad tricks to force her to agree. However, the part-time salary given by Gluo is indeed very high, and he brought her with him, and he may have thought of protecting her. After all, at that time, he should have seen that he was going to awaken his innate ability. For example, today, I just made a little trouble, and he surrendered immediately. I wanted to eat roasted whole lamb, so he took a taxi here in the middle of the day, and didn't even care about his work. So, Gluo is a good person. He is not that excessive to me. Tang Ruoxi was thinking about it, and she was lost in thought. Gluo waited for a long time, and found that Tang Ruoxi didn't speak. Gluo quietly raised his head, and glanced at Tang Ruoxi. At that moment, Gluo decided without hesitation to end the topic immediately. That's good. Tang Ruoxi, that's good. Gluo pretended to be satisfied. Tang Ruoxi was interrupted by Gluo's words and finally came back to her senses. The girl wanted to say something, but she didn't expect Gluo to raise his hand to stop her from speaking. Tang Ruoxi, it's almost time. We have stayed a little too long. If we wait any longer, people will suspect us. We should go. Okay. Tang Ruoxi hadn't seen her face yet. She didn't know how overbearing she was. After all, the girl was still young and didn't have a lot of ideas, so she nodded obediently. Okay, let's get ready now. Jialuo deliberately avoided looking at Tang Ruoxi. Then he took off his coat and handed it to Tang Ruoxi. Then he walked to the door, moved the table blocking the door away, and unlocked the door. Tang Ruoxi, put on my coat, put on the hood, and wrap your thin scarf around your neck. Don't let others see your face. Okay. Tang Ruoxi was still a little confused, so she listened to Jialuo's words naturally. The girl was already wearing a coat, and now she put on Jialuo's coat, hood, and scarf, and the whole person looked like a bloated ninja. Jialuo, this is too ugly. It's okay, it's fine, just like that, remember. Don't let others see your face. Jialuo tried to turn his head and look at Tang Ruoxi. The image of the girl made Jialuo very satisfied. Now Tang Ruoxi's whole person showed a pair of eyes, which was not so spiritual and charming. But, I have to say, Tang Ruoxi's eyes are really cute. It seems that I can open her scarf and see how cute her whole face is. It's really exciting. Jialuo realized that his thoughts were wrong and immediately slapped himself to make his thoughts return to normal. Tang Ruoxi was startled by Jialuo's action and couldn't help shrinking back. Jialuo, are you okay? Tang Ruoxi was addicted to anime, games, and novels, and her head was filled with the dangers and confusion of superpowers. At this moment, Tang Ruoxi had already imagined that Jialuo, an evolver, was in such a miserable situation. He must have a big enemy and could only pretend all the time. Now that she has awakened the original talent that Jialuo mentioned, she is no longer an ordinary person. Her current situation is very dangerous, and she must be careful. Just like Jialuo said, before she grows up, it is necessary to accept his protection. It is not shameful for a first level angel to follow a 6th level elf. It's okay, Tang Ruoxi, don't talk later, just walk out, stay away from everyone. Remember, don't talk to anyone, and don't let anyone see your face. Jialuo said it very seriously and scared Tang Ruoxi, who nodded immediately. Jialuo was very satisfied with the girl's attitude. After giving her a reassuring look, he pushed the door and walked out. Then, Tang Ruoxi, who was dressed like a dumpling, didn't stop for a step. She walked straight out of the restaurant, lowered her head from beginning to end, didn't talk to anyone, and didn't let others see her face. Everything was as planned, everything very successful. I should have passed the novice tutorial successfully. Tang Ruoxi hid in an empty alley and looked around carefully. After confirming that there was no one, the girl was completely relieved. It's safe, just wait for Jialuo here. He should be here soon. Chapter 144, Saber-toothed Tiger. What happened? Why is Jialuo so slow? Tang Ruoxi, who was like a dumpling, was bored in the alley. She was an upright person and had almost never been so timid. Anyway, she felt uncomfortable all over. Kitten. Mimi Tang Ruoxi didn't expect that there would be stray cats in such a desolate alley. As a beautiful girl who can eat and fight, cats are one of the animals that Tang Ruoxi likes the most. However, cats don't kiss her. Once she gets close, they will run away immediately. However, what makes Tang Ruoxi feel excited is that the kitten that suddenly appeared was not afraid of her. Instead, it timidly began to approach her at her call. The kitten looked like it had just been weaned. Its body was pure black without any other colors, and even its pupils were black and bright. The little black cat looked at Tang Ruoxi and approached her step by step hesitantly. Tang Ruoxi looked at the timid appearance of the cat and was very happy. Oh. Tang Ruoxi suppressed her inner joy and didn't make too much noise so as not to scare the kitten away. The little black cat walked very slowly. Tang Ruoxi wanted to rush over and hug it, but her past experience calmed the girl down. She squatted down and waited quietly for the little black cat to come to her side. Then, rubbed her palm very intimately. I actually touched a cat. What is this? Is it the effect of superpowers? This world's cutest is too cool. It can even make cats kiss me. Tang Ruoxi carefully picked up the little black cat. Don't mention how happy she was in her heart. Anyway, this is the first time Tang Ruoxi feels that it is great to be able to awaken the original talent. Mimi, good boy. Tang Ruoxi gently stroked the little black cat. She quickly judged from all aspects of information that this was an ownerless wildcat. Since it is a wildcat, it is obvious that Tang Ruoxi can take it home. He little sweetheart, from today on, you will follow me. Tang Ruoxi showed a perverted smile, not caring whether the little black cat was clean or not, and directly rubbed its forehead with her face. The little black cat was also very interested, and immediately licked Tang Ruoxi intimately, fully expressing his love for her. Great, I also have a cat. Let me think about it. I will give you a domineering name. How about Alexander? Not very good. This person's name is too loud. Not good for your fate. Then, how about Sphinx? It's not very good either. It looks too ugly, not worthy of you. Then, call it Saber-toothed Tiger? Yes. Just call it Saber-toothed Tiger. Saber-toothed Tiger from today on. I'm your master. Tang Ruoxi was very excited, just like discovering a treasure. She whispered the new name for the little black cat, and the kitten actually felt it and meowed very appropriately. Saber-toothed Tiger, meow. Saber-toothed Tiger, meow. The little black cat was very smart. After Tang Ruoxi called it a few times, it understood that the girl was calling it. Not only did it keep responding to Tang Ruoxi, it also licked her hand with its tongue. Sabertooth, you're awesome. Tang Ruoxi felt that today was her lucky day. Not only did Luo apologize to her, but she also awakened her superpowers and had a cat. Is this heaven? Love it. Tang Ruoxi, what are you grinning about? Luo, look, I have a cat. Tang Ruoxi turned around and found that Luo had come over. She was not interested in asking what happened. Instead, she lifted the little black cat up and signaled to Luo that she had a cat. That's great news. Congratulations. Luo's answer was very emotionally intelligent and his tone was perfectly controlled. You can call it sarcastic or a sincere blessing. Okay, Tang Ruoxi, take your cat. We should leave. Where to? Tang Ruoxi hugged Sabertooth Tiger and calmed down again. She looked at Luo worriedly, fearing that he would say some bad news. The most urgent thing now is to find a store to make a custom mask for you. Luo did not mention to Tang Ruoxi what had just happened. They were all trivial matters. It was just that the store owner suspected what they had done in the box, so he stayed for a while and checked around. Customized mask? Tang Ruoxi couldn't help but frowned as she was wearing a scarf. Before the girl could question it, Luo took out a small mirror and handed it to Tang Ruoxi. I just bought it from the waiter. Look at yourself. Luo turned around immediately after Tang Ruoxi was about to untie her scarf. Tang Ruoxi thought Luo was surprised at first, but when she saw herself in the mirror, the girl couldn't help but let out a cry. What's going on? How is it possible? Is this still me? Tang Ruoxi's tone was already tearful at this time. If she had simply become cute, there was really no need to make a fuss, let alone worry. However, Tang Ruoxi's cuteness had already exceeded the normal range. Even when she looked at herself, she felt that she was so cute that she wanted to hold the mirror and look at herself for the rest of her life. Okay, put on the scarf, and we'll pick out a nice mask for you. It'll look just like the ones in animated movies, and you'll definitely look good in it. Although Luo was comforting Tang Ruoxi, he didn't turn around from beginning to end until Tang Ruoxi had put on the scarf and her body shape allowed Luo to turn around. Then Luo turned around. Tang Ruoxi, it's okay, don't girls all want to be cute? You're the cutest in the world, you should be happy. But, is this still me? Tang Ruoxi is very satisfied with her appearance. She has no inferiority complex and no pride. She just thinks that everything is just right. But now, this balance is gone. What Tang Ruoxi is really afraid of is not that her supernatural power makes her cute, but that because she becomes cute, everyone's attitude towards her will change. That's the most uncomfortable thing. Yes, it is uncomfortable. After all, the people who see her now and have a good relationship with her are all coming for her face. The more people are around her in the future, the more it shows how much of a failure she was in the past. This is simply a denial. It's okay. In my memory, you are still you, and you have always been you. Don't worry, other people's attitudes towards you will change, but I won't. GLUO puffed out his chest and made his straight man speech righteously. The girl looked at him with red eyes and laughed. Let's go. Don't cry. You are cute enough. If you are any cuter, the world will be in danger. Nonsense. Tang Ruoxi held the little black cat in her left hand, clenched her right fist, and waved it at GLUO. Although the action looked threatening, it was actually more of a coquettish gesture. Tang Ruoxi, let's go. Don't forget, you still have a chance in the afternoon. This is about making money. You can't ignore it. Then let's go. Don't block the road. Chapter 145. The boss is not there when he comes. 1437 on January 25th, 3006 Zuyi. Where is boss GLUO? He's not in the office or the training room. I don't know where he is exactly. Zuyi knew that GLUO and Tang Ruoxi had gone out to eat. He had GLUO's phone number. If he really wanted to know where GLUO was, he could just call him. However, it was interesting that a man and a woman went out to eat from more than 10 in the morning to almost 3 in the afternoon and still hadn't finished eating. In the past, Zuyi didn't understand the twists and turns in it, but now he has a girlfriend and understands a lot. Boss GLUO, didn't you go out to eat with Tang Ruoxi? Haven't you come back yet? Zuyi pretended to be very surprised, and the instructor who was chatting with him froze and couldn't speak steadily. I don't know whether boss GLUO is back or not. Yeah, I don't know. Zuyi nodded very affirmatively. When the other party saw that Zuyi was pretending to be confused and refused to call GLUO, he could only turn around and leave helplessly. To be honest, although Zizin is the boss of the entire Xiaodao gym, almost everyone is more afraid of GLUO than Zizin. Needless to say, the county magistrate is not as good as the current manager. If you offend the boss, you will be fired at most, but if you offend GLUO, it is not a matter of small shoes. GLUO will find a reason to spar with you and beat you directly to doubt your life, but you will never be seriously injured. It will hurt, and you will be in pain. At the beginning, there were still thorns who wanted to provoke GLUO, but after a few times, everyone raised their hands and feet to support GLUO. Compared with the personal pain of the Chuanwu side, the people on the first floor of the Xiaodao gym are afraid of GLUO's ruthlessness. Think about Lao Shaoyuan before, a serious Chuanwu master, who fought hard on the side of the martial arts competition. However, it is such a person who was beaten beyond human form by GLUO, and is still lying in the hospital. It is said that it will be impossible to get out of bed for less than half a year. So now, GLUO is in Xiaodao gym. It's a bit too much to cover the sky with one hand, but it's still okay to have a word. Just like this time, the boss Zizin personally went to GLUO, and the gang didn't dare to make this call. Because everyone knows that GLUO and Tang Ruoxi have a special relationship. Who knows what they are doing? If you disturb someone's date, you can wait for a miserable death. The spring cake shop has been demolished for a long time. The whereabouts of the beautiful proprietress are unknown. GLUO, the Golden Bachelor, wandered around in a disoriented state for a few days and finally recovered. As for the reason, the whole gym has spread that GLUO fell in love with the little girl who came to challenge the gym with him that day. The 16-year-old female high school student is beautiful, good at studying, and is also the class monitor. The news comes from an employee of a nephew who is a classmate of Tang Ruoxi. Master GLUO took the initiative to pursue her, not only confessed his love, but also chased her to the school gate, which means that he will not give up until he achieves his goal. The news comes from the cleaning lady of the same school as his daughter and Tang Ruoxi. In order to pursue someone, GLUO racked his brains and used public tools for private purposes. He invited someone to be a temporary instructor, and the salary he gave made everyone jealous. The news came from a certain instructor who knew the inside story, but did not dare to reveal his name and identity. Boss GLUO, come back soon, or you will be rumored to be taking a high school girl to drive later. Zuyi was also quite panicked. After all, it was the boss who came to find him, and it was said that the reason was that the boss's friend came. These rich second generations seem to come to see GLUO on purpose, and they meant to come to the door to fiddle with him. I'm not worried that GLUO will be taken by these people, but the problem is, where is GLUO? When the boss is looking for him, he is gone, which is very bad. These rich children value face the most. If GLUO makes the boss lose face, it will be a trouble. Do you want to make a phone call? Zuyi was also a little hesitant. He knew he was stupid, so at this time, he simply stopped thinking about it himself and told his girlfriend about the matter directly. Zuyi's girlfriend is Yuan. She is the person in charge of finances, specializing in money management, and is very meticulous. Zuyi didn't have to wait for long before her message came. Don't make this call. No one should make it. Why should you make it? It will make you look capable. No one is suitable to make this call. You can only wait for GLUO to come back. No one is suitable to make it? Zuyi thought for a long time, but he didn't figure out the twists and turns here. But he has a hobby. If he doesn't understand something, he will leave it to professionals. Commonly known as, he is obedient. Then I can't stay here either. I have to go to work. Zuyi also has a little cleverness in his mind. He is hiding now, so that others can't find him, and this matter will definitely not fall on him. However, things are like this. The more Zuyi doesn't want to encounter things, the more he encounters things. It was the instructor who just chatted with him. At this time, he hurried over, and sweat broke out on his face in anxiety. Zuyi, the boss wants you to go over. Call me. Zuyi was just planning to find a place to hide when he was caught. GLUO was the boss of traditional martial arts. He had the right to show off to the boss, but he didn't. What did the boss want me to do? I'm far from the boss GLUO. I can't hold up the scene. Let's go. It's useless to say anything. The boss wants you. Okay. Zuyi also knew that it was useless to explain this to his colleagues. He could only follow people to the boss's office, but on the way, Zuyi was careful and sent a message to his girlfriend. You know, Yuan also has GLUO's phone number. When necessary, she can summon the boss to save the situation. With this in mind, Zuyi was not so nervous. He followed his colleagues to the boss's office. Unexpectedly, his colleagues knocked on the door and then turned and left. What does it mean? What does it mean? Is there a tiger in here? It runs so fast. Come in. Zuyi pushed the door and walked into the room and was frightened by the scene in front of him. Wow, the boss is sitting on a chair and a young man with a hippie face is sitting directly on the desk next to the boss. On the other side of the sofa, two women are discussing Go. A very calm looking young man is sitting on the sofa, fighting against the two girls opposite him alone, with a particularly calm expression on his face. These two men and two women are obviously Zizin's friends, but, on the side of the room, a man with sharp eyes is sitting on a stool. Although he has a book in his hand, he is not reading it at all. Zuyi secretly took a peek. It was a Buddhist scripture. Hey Zizin, is this the best fighter in your gym besides GLUO? He doesn't look that good. A little silly. Chapter 146. Different. People say that martial arts requires a strong spirit. Seeing his silly look, I doubt that you have been deceived. The young man sitting at the desk started with a harsh sarcasm. He looked at Zuyi, who looked nervous, with a sarcastic smile on his face. Zizin, look, I said this to him, but he didn't react, and didn't dare to look me in the eye. I heard that truly powerful martial artists have killed people before. Even if those fierce men don't do anything, they can scare you to the ground just by looking at you. Yan Heo. Don't joke around. You're exaggerating. Zizin also felt that his friend was a little too much, so he frowned and stopped him. However, Zizin's words were actually just a compliment. The young man with a smile on his face said such harsh words, but Zizin brushed them off with a word. Zuyi, don't be angry. Yan Heo is just like that. He's a bad mouth. Don't pay attention to him. Be more tolerant. Zizin seemed to be apologizing for his friend. He was very humble to Zuyi. What else could Zuyi say? He could only nod in agreement. From the beginning to the end, Yan Heo had no intention of apologizing. He just sat casually on the desk, glancing at Zuyi sideways, constantly looking up and down, making Zuyi feel uncomfortable. However, Zuyi couldn't say anything. The boss apologized for him, So what else could he, as an employee, say? The boss also scolded his friend. He was rude. The boss also indicated his solution. Ignore him. The boss also comforted him very kindly. Bear more. Zuyi stood in front of the desk. He, who had never understood the atmosphere, felt like a clown. However, facing the boss with a gentle attitude, he didn't even have the position and reason to be angry. Zizin had done what he should do, although it was just superficial. The atmosphere became awkward. Although Yan Hao didn't insult Zuyi anymore, he sat there lazily, as if he was looking at livestock, and commented on Zuyi with his eyes. Zizin seemed to have received a text message suddenly, and was looking down at the message. Zuyi could only stand in front of the desk, like a primary school student who had made a mistake. At this time, even Zuyi felt that Zizin didn't think much of him. After all, he was an uneducated, brainless country boy. If it weren't for GLUO, he wouldn't have the courage to come to teach, let alone enter this building. If it was GLUO standing here now, not to mention Zizin, even Yan Hao wouldn't dare to be so presumptuous, because GLUO was cruel enough. Just as Zuyi's emotions were gradually fermenting, the man who was playing Go on the other side seemed to finally be fed up with Yan Hao's seat, and stood up and walked over. Okay, Yan Hao, don't sit on the table anymore, disturbing Zizin's work. Hey, Zhang Xinju, why are you pulling me? I'll get down by myself. Yan Hao didn't expect that his companion would directly pull him down from the table. He grumbled unhappily, but didn't dare to say anything to Zhang Xinju. Because of Zhang Xinju's sudden insertion, Yan Hao could only sit on the sofa. As if to retaliate against Zhang Xinju, Yan Hao deliberately took his place. But unfortunately, even though Yan Hao was right opposite, the two girls playing Go had already turned their eyes and stared at Zuyi. Hello, my name is Zhang Xinju, Zizin's friend. I heard that you are very good at using the spear. Zhang Xinju's attitude gave people a good impression. Even when facing Zuyi, he took the initiative to extend his hand. Zuyi's palms were full of sweat at this time. He wiped them on his lapel and shook hands with Zhang Xinju. Zuyi, I have practiced the spear for a few years and barely graduated. Zuyi also showed enough attention to Zhang Xinju's kindness. When people meet for the first time, respect is the most basic and most important thing. Yan Hao may not know that his family education is really bad, and his parents should be responsible. It is also possible that Yan Hao will maintain kindness and respect for people of his class, and he will appear arrogant and wanton when facing people without power and resources. In fact, when Zuyi faces people like Yan Hao, he is just a little angry in his heart, but he does not feel much insult. After all, in Zuyi's view, these people are not from the same world as him, and their values are not in harmony, so there is nothing to talk about. However, Zhang Xinju refreshed Zuyi's cognition. This person is also very proud and confident, but his attitude towards himself is indeed good. Zuyi, don't be nervous. It's not a big deal to ask you to come here. We just want to learn from each other and stop when we reach the limit. Zhang Xinju said this and turned to look at Yan Hao on the sofa. Yan Hao snorted unhappily, but did not refute Zhang Xinju's words. A long time ago, Zizin told us that he had found a very powerful master who could smash the floor of the dojo with one punch and kick the iron pipe out with one kick, or kick it directly to bend it. Yan Hao was also stubborn. He didn't believe Zizin's words, so he pulled a friend to come and test it out. Zuyi listened to Zhang Xinju's explanation and basically understood the whole story. It was nothing more than Zizin telling his friends about GLUO, and his friends thought he was bragging, especially Yan Hao, who insisted on taking it seriously, and even found someone who could fight. He said he was a friend, but in fact he was just a big shot. To be honest, if Zuyi hadn't seen it with his own eyes that day, he wouldn't believe that GLUO would be so outrageous. No matter who you tell about GLUO's performance that day, and it's not exaggerated at all, people will think you are bragging. After all, it really goes beyond common sense. Zhang Xinju, my big brother GLUO, he does have that ability, but I'm far behind him. Zuyi felt that Zhang Xinju respected him, and naturally he would respect the other party, but before Zuyi finished the whole sentence, Yan Hao on the other side sneered, and the expression on his face was even more contemptuous. Brother Zoo, what you said is interesting. The person who can do it is not here, and the person who is here can't do it. Then what do you say he has that ability? If he has that ability, will he not be here? GLUO is not here because of something, not because you are here. Zuyi is not a person without temper. The other party has been finding fault again and again, and now he is insulting GLUO. Zuyi certainly can't stand it. He stared at Yan Heo coldly, and the face of this young man who had been smiling all the time gradually became gloomy. It's useless to talk. The real thing will be revealed by your hands. At this time, the thugs sitting on the other side of the chair, seeing that their master Yan Heo was angry, immediately stood up, which was very timely. Since you call that GLUO big brother, it means that you have a good relationship. He must have taught you some kung fu. I can always test something from you. Chapter 147, The Right to Speak. Okay, let's try it. Zuyi clenched his fists, twisted his neck, and looked at Yan Heo deeply. It was as if he was saying to him, since you want this result, then I will give you this result. This world is cold and cruel. The inequality between people has been ingrained into the law. The strong will always be strong if they have resources, occupy resources, and rob resources. The weak will always be weak. Class is like an invisible barrier, dividing the same people into different levels. Zuyi knew these things, and he kept his head down silently and chose to obey. But now, his dignity as a human has been trampled on. If he still escapes, then let alone others, even he himself will look down on himself. What qualifications does he have to stay here and stay by GLUO's side? Since you took the initiative to challenge me, then according to the rules, how to fight should be decided by me. How about it? Okay. The man's expression was very old-fashioned. He seemed to be absolutely sure of victory. He didn't care about Zuyi's choice at all. Okay, let's have a competition. I'll wait for you on the second floor. Zuyi nodded to his opponent and then walked out the door without even saying hello to Zizin. Zizin had already put down his phone at this time. He sat behind his desk and couldn't help frowning. Zizin knew these four friends better. Although Yan Heo was a bit mean, he was just unwilling to accept it and would not really ruin his reputation. It was no big deal for Zuyi to have a competition with Zuo Ziang. But why? Why did he feel uneasy? Yan Heo, tell me the truth. What do you want to do? Zizin was not a fool. He thought carefully about what Yan Heo had done and felt more and more that something was wrong. Don't take me for a fool. To be honest, what did you want to do by being so provocative just now? Not very good. I'm afraid you've been deceived. Yan Heo sat on the sofa and took a sip of the tea next to him. The short-haired woman in front of him rolled her eyes at him and directly exposed his past. Zizin, don't listen to Yan Heo's nonsense. He just doesn't believe what you said. He thinks you have been deceived or possessed by a ghost. So he found this Mr. Zuo Ziang and asked him to fight with GLUO. If he loses, the matter will stop here. If he wins, Mr. Zuo Ziang will be your traditional martial arts master. The woman's face was made up very brightly. As a spectator today, she would definitely say whatever she wanted. Yan Heo took the cup she was drinking water from and didn't care about her telling the truth. He just shrugged his shoulders. Zizin, isn't your store recruiting masters for a martial arts competition? The most capable ones will be given the job. Yan Heo. Zizin never expected that Yan Heo actually had this plan, and the other three people also looked like they didn't care about their business, they were just onlookers. Yan Heo, the so-called martial arts competition is just a gimmick. Can the master chef of a store always be changed? This GLUO is really capable, and he has good methods. In recent days, the business of the store has been getting better and better. Really? Good methods? You even said that? Yan Heo crossed his legs on the sofa, not caring about Zizin's anger. They are old friends. It's not that easy to get angry. Zizin, to be honest, we don't need the money. Is the business of the store really a big deal? But the problem is, if it goes on like this, will you have the final say in this store? We are old friends. To be honest, I brought Master Zuo here today with the idea of stopping at a certain point. I didn't really want to do anything. Although I'm arrogant, do I have to argue with that Zuyi? It's because he represents the face of GLUO. Look, we went out to play in the morning, and when we came back in the afternoon, the other party was gone. What did he do? He went out to eat with a part-time female high school student. He left at 10 o'clock, and it's 3 o'clock now. Yan Heo and the others are not fools. If they ask a little about the matter, they will understand everything. This GLUO is too inflated. He is obviously a part-time worker, but now he is so arrogant. Zizin, Zhang Xinju is an old man who likes to play it safe, but did he say anything about me this time? Don't think I'm being harsh. That high school girl is 16 years old and pretty. I won't say how good her martial arts are, but her part-time salary is a bit too high, isn't it? Did you decide the salary? No, the martial arts business is all managed by the master chef. Zizin was also a little annoyed at this time. He rubbed his forehead, and the pen in his hand didn't hold well, so he drew a long line on the paper. He talked to me about Tang Ruoxi's part-time salary. Although Tang Ruoxi is young, her 36 thunder hands are very powerful. He said it's worth the price. He said it all. Zizin, this is your store. Yan Heo knocked on the table, as if he was disappointed with his talent, and spoke without concealing his voice. He's a part-time worker. He hired a high-paid girl to seduce a high school girl. He only taught a class in the morning. As soon as the class ended, he couldn't help it, and took her out to eat. How many hours did they eat? Tang Ruoxi, the part-time worker, must have classes in the afternoon. The class is about to start. Where are she? What about those customers? Zizin was powerless to answer Yan Heo's questioning. GLUO was too stupid to do this, or it could be said that his eating manners were too ugly. He simply didn't take him, the boss, seriously. Zizin, this GLUO is too much. Today, if he is really capable, I can't drive him away, but if he is not capable, don't blame me for letting him go out sideways. Yan Heo now laid out the matter. The two women in front of him did not express their opinions, but in fact they secretly supported him. On the other side, Zhang Xinju sighed, as if he didn't expect things to turn out like this. Zizin, let Yan Heo make a scene. I don't think it's going to work this way. A scene might bring good things. Whatever. Don't overdo it. Zizin has always believed in Zhang Xinju. Since he said so, let's just leave it as it is. However, Yan Heo, there is one thing I must remind you. Before GLUO shows up, absolutely don't make things out of control. Zizin stared at Yan Heo, as if he was saying something that could not be compromised. Yan Heo had no choice but to nod, but no one knew what he was thinking. On the other side, Zhang Xinju looked at Zizin's fear of GLUO and couldn't help but become more curious about GLUO. Although Zizin was a cautious person, he still had concerns even now. It was conceivable that GLUO had many tricks. Chapter 148, Children. Of course, Zhang Xinju did not tell Zizin the truth. He was afraid that Zizin would get angry and make things out of control. After all, GLUO was not there, and the boss wanted to find him, but no one was willing to call. Seeing the big picture from the small, Zhang Xinju was sure that GLUO was more effective than him as the boss in this store. It sounds incredible, but Zhang Xinju believes in his own judgment, so he wants to meet GLUO and have a chat with him. Let's go. Zhang Xinju didn't want to see a conflict between his friends. The matter was in front of him, and everyone had a different way of solving it, but it could not be denied that his friends were all kind. Let's go. Eyeing Kalen, hurry up. Don't check your chess record. Go watch the competition. A woman with heavy makeup seemed particularly enthusiastic at this time. Beside her, the girl with a calm temperament didn't want to move, but was still pulled up by her friend. Zujing, if you want to watch, just go and watch it yourself. It's just a fight. What's there to watch? Eyeing Kalen wanted to struggle a bit, but Zujing didn't care about that. She dragged her out the door. Okay, stop pulling me. Can't I just walk? Eyeing Kalen rubbed her wrist that was pulled. She had no way to deal with her friend who loved to fan the flames. Zhang Xinju was already standing in the corridor at this time. The two women walked to his side. Yan Heo and Zizin came out one after another. Zuo Xiang, who was invited to be a thug, stood at the back, calm as if he had no joy or sorrow. In the end, this world has to rely on money to pave the way. No matter how good you are at fighting, you can't make food for no reason. In order to eat and enjoy, the so-called martial virtues began to be gradually abandoned, and only for money. Zizin, you are the host, lead the way. Yan Hao still had a playful smile in the face of Zizin's cold expression. Zizin turned around and glared at him, but there was nothing she could do about him, so she could only lead the way in front. The entire second floor is a martial arts area. Although the area is not small, there are not many rooms, because the dojo takes up a lot of space. In order not to affect the customers, the martial arts competition naturally cannot be held in public. Zuyi didn't know what he was thinking, so he chose Gluo's separate training room. When Zizin and the other 6 pushed the door, they saw Zuyi sitting on the ground, obviously waiting early. You are the challenger, and as the host, I should be qualified to choose the competition category. Is that okay? No problem. Zuo Xiang didn't mean to change his clothes. He walked to the opposite side of Zuyi. The two were about 50 meters apart, and then Zuo Xiang took out a bandage and started to wrap his hands without saying a word. Muay Thai. Zuyi didn't even need to observe. He knew that he was a Muay Thai practitioner as soon as he saw Zuo Xiang's bandage wrapping technique. Muay Thai, as a martial art with self-mutilation attributes, its lethality is undoubtedly far beyond other kung fu. People who practice Muay Thai are at their peak before the age of 40. During this period, they almost treat themselves as weapons to train, and they can kill people with just a wave of their hands. Of course, selfies are the price of becoming stronger day by day. Even Muay Thai practitioners are almost all sick. Once the peak period is over, they are finished immediately. It is normal to die at the age of 50. Please advise. Zuo Xiang was ready, stood face to face with Zuyi, and bowed very straight. Very good, let's compete with weapons. The weapons are on the other side. You can choose whatever you want. Zuyi is not a fool. Naturally, he will not go head to head with a Muay Thai fighter. His skills are all on the spear. Why can't he use weapons? No need, I still believe in my fists. Zuo Xiang watched Zuyi pick up the spear. There was no joy or sadness on his face. He just clenched his fists tightly. It's up to you. Zuyi didn't care whether Zuo Xiang was inflated or had other little calculations. Anyway, Zuyi twisted his hands and shook out a bowl-sized gunflower. At this moment, the two of them were already on the verge of a fight. Zuyi was angry, and Zuo Xiang was eager. Both of them had no way out, and the only way was to fight. However, just when Zuyi and Zuo Xiang were about to fight, the door of the dojo was suddenly opened. Darn. The person did not knock on the door, nor did he pretend to say hello, but directly opened the door and walked into the house without hesitation. So many people came to my place while I was not at home. What's the matter? Why do you want to compete? Gluo didn't care about the expressions of Zhang Xinju and others at all. He just stood there by himself, and the whole dojo was quiet in an instant. Zuyi, what are you doing? I'm a boxer, and you are competing with others with guns. Isn't it embarrassing? Let others laugh at you. Come down quickly. Gluo didn't look strange, and he could be said to be smiling, but at this moment, Zizin quietly hid behind his friend, and didn't even have the courage to look at Gluo. Because, that day, in a place, Gluo personally broke one of Lao Shaoyuan's arms and smashed his sternum. When he was sent to the hospital, the doctors said that the man was hit by a car, and the force was too accidental. If he used more force, he would not be able to get up. Gluo, I want to try. Zuyi breathed a sigh of relief when he saw Gluo coming back, but at the same time, he also wanted to fight with Zuo Xiang. He has been practicing hard for so many days. If he doesn't find a grindstone, how can he know how much he has improved? What to try? Zuyi, don't be so self-indulgent. Do you think that people are coming to you? I'm coming to me. Gluo's expression was a little impatient. Zuyi and Gluo looked at each other for a few seconds, and finally put down the gun in his hand, and gave up the idea of challenge. Okay. Zuyi stepped down from the stage, and Gluo didn't change his clothes. He put his coat aside, and walked into the field without any preparation. Knock knock knock. At this time the door of the dojo was knocked again. Gluo, what are you doing? Are you not changing your clothes? I'm coming in. Tang Ruox's voice had changed a little at this time. Although her voice was a little unclear outside the door, her voice was indeed special. Just a simple word made her inexplicably cute. No, come in. Jialuo moved his body, his face always relaxed, while opposite him, Zuo Xiang was ready to face a powerful enemy. Compared with him, Jialuo looked like an amateur. Don't lie to me, I'm coming in. Tang Ruoxi opened the door slowly and politely. Because Jialuo didn't tell her the situation, Tang Ruoxi didn't know that there would be so many people in the room. The girl raised her head, looking at Jialuo's eager look and Zuo Xiang's desperate look. She couldn't help but blurt out, "Jialuo, what are you doing? Beating up a child?" Chapter 149. No. In the tense atmosphere, the girl who suddenly entered the scene gave everyone a sense of relief, but the first sentence she said turned out to be the ultimate traitor. Beat a child? Jialuo was originally prepared to teach the other party a lesson that would make him regret for life, but Tang Ruox's words made him change his mind. Haha, it does have that meaning, although he doesn't think he is a child. Jialuo stopped his intention to attack, looked up and down at Zuo Xiang, and his expression was a little subtle. Zuo Xiang had already set his stance, but seeing that Jialuo had no intention of attacking, he clenched his fists and didn't know what to do for a while. On the other side, Zizan and others were watching the show silently on the side, without any intention of expressing their opinions. Zizan felt a little nervous because of Jialuo's sudden arrival, but in order to get by, he stood at the front of the 5 people, but his expression was very stiff, and he didn't intend to interrupt. Compared with Zizan's guilty conscience, Yan Hao was ignorant and fearless. At that moment, he was also frightened by Jialuo's sudden appearance. But after a few words, he was disgusted with Jialuo's pretense, and wished Zuo Xiang would be more ruthless, and beat him into a disability. Zukain was a person who liked to watch the fun. She originally wanted to watch a fight, but now Jialuo suddenly came in. She actually fell in love with Jialuo, and kept staring at Jialuo's face. It seemed that she would never stop staring at him. She even wanted to walk over and talk to him. Fortunately, Aang Kalen still maintained her rationality. She held her friend who wanted to die and didn't let her get close. However, Aang Kalen had already keenly sensed that something was wrong. She tilted her head slightly and looked at Zhang Xinju. Zhang Xinju saw the same worry in Aang Kalen's eyes as himself. He originally planned to come here to calm the situation. He didn't care how strong Zuo Xiang was, and he didn't care whether Jialuo was really that powerful. After all, no matter how good he is at fighting, can he beat a gun? However, this shallow cognition was completely wiped out at this moment. Zhang Xinju's intuition told him that this boy with a vague age and a handsome appearance was very dangerous. Jialuo didn't even look at him, but even if he just glanced at him, the murderous intent that crawled out of the sea of corpses instantly made Zhang Xinju's hair stand on end. Killing people and taking the lives of his own kind are the worst and deepest karma. As long as he has killed people, his eyes and temperament will never change back to ordinary people. Just like in reality, if a tiger or a bear has killed a person, then it must die. Because, as long as the beasts have killed and eaten people, they will understand how fragile humans are. Intrigue and servility may not be as good as simply stabbing with a blade. Zhang Xinju has seen people returning from the battlefield, so at this moment, when others were still watching the show with the pillow, he already felt that something was wrong. Yan Hao, let's leave it at that today. Call Zuo Xiang back and let's go. What? Yan Hao thought he had heard wrong. He turned his head and looked at Zhang Xinju's unusually ugly face, and he also felt that something was wrong. Zhang Xinju, what's wrong? Do you know this Jialuo? Who is he? Don't worry about it, let's go first. Zhang Xinju knew that Yan Hao had misunderstood his meaning, but it didn't matter. As long as he left quickly, it would be fine. From beginning to end, Zhang Xinju didn't tell anyone that not long ago, when Jialuo walked in from the door, Zhang Xinju felt a strong killing intent from him. At that time, everyone present was intimidated by Jialuo's momentum. Others didn't know that people really had killing intent and thought it was just a psychological illusion. but Zhang Xinju was sure that as long as people killed too many lives, they would really have murderous intent, and when they had the killing intention, this sign would be extremely obvious. Zhang Xinju didn't dare to say it so obviously because he was worried about Gluo, but Zhang Xinju's attitude made Yan Hao very unhappy. In their circle of friends, Zhang Xinju is the leader. Everyone likes him and thinks he has a future, but Yan Hao doesn't like to follow him. Why? I won't leave. If you want to leave, go ahead. Zhuo Xiang will fight him later. Yan Hao, if Zhuo Xiang really has the confidence to win, he would have started fighting. Zhang Xinju felt that it was not the right time for Yan Hao to be serious. Couldn't he see that Zhuo Xiang was very nervous since Gluo came in? According to his status as a challenger, he could have started fighting a long time ago. However, Zhuo Xiang just stood there stupidly, with a posture as if he was fighting desperately, but he didn't take the lead. This was because he was scared by Gluo. He was unsure and didn't dare to start. It hasn't started yet. How can he lose? Is there any need to see this? Just because it hasn't started yet, he has already lost. Tang Ruoxi looked at Yan Hao with a look like a fool. She walked into the house from the door and stood leisurely in the position of the spectator. Gluo's private martial arts training room was narrow, but very long, with a space of nearly 60 meters. Gluo and Zhuo Xiang stood at the other end of the room, quite far from the position of the 5 people watching the fight. Zhang Xinju and others thought that if they lowered their voices, Gluo would not be able to hear their conversation, but Tang Ruoxi, who walked into the room, heard everything clearly, so she came over. Outsider, don't be so arrogant, it's too annoying, and you will be beaten. Excuse me, girl, who are you? Zhang Xinju stretched out his hand to stop Yan Hao, who was about to rush towards Tang Ruoxi. He was still very curious about this masked girl. That's right. At this time, Tang Ruoxi had already put on a mask, and it was a full face style. Because she liked anime and the second dimension, Tang Ruoxi chose a Japanese style fox mask. Except for Tang Ruoxi's pupils, the rest of the people couldn't even see her mouth, and they couldn't confirm her identity at all. My name is Tang Ruoxi. This is my first day here as a part-time instructor. Tang Ruoxi was very satisfied with her image. This mask was specially made by Gluo. The reason why they came back to play was because of the time it took. Although this mask is small and exquisite, it costs nearly 10,000 yuan, which is basically the average salary of 3 months in Changlin City. Tang Ruoxi was a little sad at first, but since Gluo paid for it, and she liked it so much, she forgave Gluo for asking her to wear the mask all the time. In order to match the temperament of the mask, the girl even untied her twin ponytails, and replaced them with a mature and sassy single ponytail. Once this girl put on the mask, the whole person immediately became different. What's wrong? Why do you always have this expression? Do you know me? Chapter 150. Give up. I'm sorry, I don't remember meeting you. I have no memory at all. Tang Ruoxi's eyes moved from Zhang Xinju one by one, and finally confirmed that, except Zizin, she didn't know any of these people. Who needs you to know them? Who do you think you are? Yan Hao was already very unhappy with Tang Ruoxi's interruption. At this time, his anger had exploded. He ignored Zhang Xinju's obstruction and was about to go forward to make trouble for Tang Ruoxi. However, Yan Hao obviously misjudged the situation. Zhu Yi would give in to him because he had some concerns, but how could Tang Ruoxi, a young lady who had never been bullied, give in to him? So, when Yan Hao just stepped forward, Tang Ruoxi punched him in the stomach, making Yan Hao unable to breathe. He covered his stomach and began to fall backwards. Fortunately, Zhang Xinju supported him. You. Damn. Yan Hao's voice was almost squeezed out of his throat, but Tang Ruoxi didn't give him the opportunity to say anything harsh. The girl stepped forward again and slapped Yan Hao in the face, which directly drew blood from his nose. I advise you not to say dirty words anymore. Tang Ruoxi's face was covered by a fox mask, but her dark eyes flashed with a solemn cold light. Facing such a powerful Tang Ruoxi, not only Yan Hao didn't dare to speak, but even Zhang Xinju, who was supporting him, kept his mouth shut. On the other side, Aang Kalen observed the situation calmly and had no intention of rushing forward. Zujing was very excited and seemed to want to have a verbal battle with Tang Ruoxi, but was held tightly by Aang Kalen. Just kidding. If Tang Ruoxi was a man, he would definitely hit Zujing, but she was also a girl. If Zujing said something wrong, Tang Ruoxi would slap her and disfigure her. Yan Hao covered his stomach with one hand and his cheek with the other hand. He felt so angry that he wanted to go crazy. He broke away from Zhang Xinju's support and stood there staggeringly. Zuo Ziyan, come here. Zuo Ziyan, who was a little further away, heard Yan Hao's words and turned around and ran away as if he had been pardoned. Jialuo had put too much pressure on him. Jialuo hadn't made a move yet, but just staring at him made him feel hairy all over, and he didn't dare to move. Because the intuition of martial artists told Zuo Ziyan that if Tang Ruoxi hadn't come to disturb him, he might have been dead now. Not a failure, not falling to the ground, but being killed without any ability to resist. It was strange that after Jialuo entered the door, he seemed to be thinking about something. Not only did he not mean to make a move, but he also observed him. Yan Hao, I'm coming. Zuo Ziyan, kill her for me. If something goes wrong, I'll solve it for you. Yan Hao was really crazy. He actually said something like killing someone. Zuo Ziyan was stunned for a moment, looking at the girl in front of him who was more than a head shorter than him. How could he make a move? You are so stupid. Tang Ruoxi didn't care about Yan Hao's incompetent rage. Although she was wearing a mask, her obvious laughter was heard by everyone. I just said that Jialuo was right in front of him, but he didn't dare to attack. What else could this be but admitting that he couldn't win? As for you, you simply don't know what to say. Tang Ruoxi deliberately prolonged the last 4 words. Zhang Xinju and others didn't see Tang Ruoxi's movements. Only Zuo Ziyan barely saw her move, but he couldn't stop her at all. Bang! Tang Ruoxi was also afraid of beating Yan Hao to death, so she deliberately used her palm. Even with this restrained strength, she hit Yan Hao's chest, which still made him feel what suffocation was. Cough cough cough. Yan Hao fell to the ground head first, holding his chest, staring for a while, stretching his neck, trying to absorb every bit of oxygen in the air. Yan Hao's lungs were under great shock and pressure. He moved for a long time, and finally recovered the ability to breathe. How is it? How does it feel? Tang Ruoxi wore a Japanese fox mask, and she was like a different person, letting herself go. It must be said that Tang Ruoxi has always been a good student in school. She is serious about her work, treats people equally, and has excellent academic performance. She has been the class monitor since elementary school. The teacher's expectations have made Tang Ruoxi always suppress her temper. Now, the girl wears a mask, so others can't see her face, don't know who she is, and don't know what her expression is. This feeling is really great. Tang Ruoxi, why do you tell them your identity directly? In this way, they will know everything. Jialuo walked over leisurely. He stretched out his right hand and put it on Zuo Ziyan's shoulder. It looked like he was chatting, but in fact he controlled him tightly. What should we do? Kill them? Tang Ruoxi didn't have this idea, so she spoke very directly. Jialuo didn't say anything, just smiled, but Jialuo's attitude made Zhang Xinju and others feel cold. Miss Tang, we apologize to you for what happened today. If you need anything, just ask. Zhang Xinju finally lost his composure at this time. He didn't care what lesson Yan Hao received. He was afraid that these two people would really go crazy, and then everything would be over. Feeling that the atmosphere was not right, Aang Kalen behind him pulled Zizin's clothes and motioned him to say something. After all, this was his home court, and he couldn't act like an ostrich. Gluo, I'm really sorry for today. Zizin stuttered when he spoke. The reason why he felt so guilty was not because he was ashamed to see Gluo, but because he was afraid that Gluo would do something to him. That day, the competition between Gluo and Lao Shaoyuan left a huge psychological shadow on Zizin. Today, I was wrong too. Gluo had received a call from Zhu Yi's girlfriend, so he had already understood the specific situation. Things had come to this point, and to be frank, both parties were wrong. No one should say that anyone was a good person. Zizin, thank you for your help during this period. Let's stop our cooperation here. GLUO was not the kind of person who would betray his promise. He never intended to take anything away from Zizin. The reason why he managed the Chuanwu business like this was actually because he was too lazy. What could be easier than having everyone fear you? GLUO doesn't have to do anything, and others do their jobs conscientiously. But GLUO's lazy behavior was a bit too much, which made Zizin, the boss, feel threatened. GLUO, there's no need to be like this. We have a pleasant cooperation. This time, Zizin really didn't plan to drive GLUO away. In fact, he also noticed the situation on the Chuanwu side. Without GLUO to keep the situation under control, this business would definitely be over in the future. GLUO's personal charm may be average, but the deterrence of force and the profit share really controlled everyone. If you change a master chef, no one can achieve what GLUO did. Zizin, since we are happy to cooperate, let's save this goodwill for the future. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.